Did you know the oldest known event in the Ben 10 timeline involves an ancient war between the celestial sapiens and the chrono sapiens over control of time itself, long before Ben Tennyson was born? This conflict, buried deep in the cosmic prehistory of the franchise, represents something most fans never encounter during a casual watch of the series, a foundational struggle that shaped the very fabric of reality in the Ben 10 universe and set the stage for every transformation, every villain, and every impossible choice that would follow thousands of years later when a 10-year-old kid from Bellwood found an alien watch in the woods. The celestial sapiens, those reality-warping entities who exist outside normal space and debate every action with their dual personalities, clashed with the chrono sapiens, time-manipulating beings capable of erasing entire timelines with a thought. And the stakes of that ancient war were nothing less than the structure of causality itself. The outcome of this conflict, though never fully depicted in a single episode, echoes through every corner of Ben 10 lore, from the existence of alternate timelines to the very rules that govern how the Omnitrix interacts with species across the universe. And it reminds us that the story of Ben Tennyson is not just about a boy with alien powers, but about a cosmos with a history so deep and strange that even the most powerful beings in existence once fought to control its most fundamental forces. This is the obscure lore of Ben 10, the hidden mythology that connects a summer road trip to wars that predate human civilization. And to understand how a device created by the smartest being in 5 galaxies ended up on the wrist of a kid who just wanted to play video games and eat chili fries, we have to go back to the very beginning, to a time when the universe was still being shaped by forces that make Vilgax look like a playground bully. The Ben 10 franchise, across its original series, Alien Force, Ultimate Alien, Omniverse, and even its alternate timeline reboot, has always been more than a show about a kid turning into aliens, though that premise alone carried it to massive success and a permanent place in animation history. Beneath the surface of every episode, every transformation, every battle against the Hybrid or the Forever Knights or Agraga, there exists a mythology that rivals the depth of franchises with twice the runtime and 3 times the pretension, a cosmology that includes omnipotent reality benders, time-travelling warlords, interdimensional police forces, and creation myths that rewrite themselves depending on who is telling the story. The Celestial Sapien and Chronosapien War is just the first layer, the deepest point in a timeline that stretches from the formation of the universe itself to the far-flung future where an older Ben Tennyson has seen and done things that would break the spirit of the kid who first slapped down the Omnitrix and turned into Heat Blast to fight a giant robot piloted by Dr. Animo. What makes this lore obscure is not that it is hidden exactly, but that it is scattered across throwaway lines, background details in Omniverse episodes, brief explanations from Professor Paradox, and the occasional creator interview that clarifies something fans have debated for years on forums and wikis. The Celestial Sapiens, introduced properly in Alien Force and explored more deeply in Omniverse, are beings of such immense power that they can alter reality with a thought. But their dual personalities mean they spend eternity arguing with themselves, which is the only reason the universe has not been rewritten 1,000 times over by their whims. One Celestial Sapien, Alien X, becomes one of Ben's transformations, and the episodes that feature Alien X are some of the most consequential in the entire franchise because they deal with the terrifying implications of having that much power and that little ability to act quickly. The Chronosapiens, on the other hand, are represented most famously by Maltruant, the villain from Omniverse who seeks to control time and reshape history to his own design, and by Clockwork, one of Ben's alien forms, who can manipulate time on a smaller scale. The war between these two species, mentioned in passing and explored through the lens of characters like Professor Paradox, who exists outside of time and has seen the consequences of that ancient conflict, is the kind of lore that changes how you watch the entire series, because it suggests that the timeline itself is a contested space, a battlefield that was won or lost, or perhaps never fully resolved long before the Omnitrix was even a concept in Azimuth's mind. To understand the Omnitrix, you have to understand Azimuth, the Galvan scientist who created it. And to understand Azimuth, you have to understand that he is not just smart, but burdened by the weight of his own intelligence and the consequences of his inventions. Azimuth appears throughout the franchise, first mentioned in the original Ben 10 series and appearing in person in Alien Force, and his backstory is one of the most tragic and underappreciated elements of the show's mythology. He created the Omnitrix not as a weapon, though it has been used as one countless times, but as a tool for understanding, a device that would allow beings from different species to literally walk in each other's shoes or claws or tentacles and thereby promote peace across the galaxy. The idealism of that goal is almost painfully naive, given what the Omnitrix becomes in practice, a weapon that Ben uses to fight off alien warlords and interdimensional threats, but Azimuth's disappointment in how his creation has been used is a recurring theme in his appearances, and it adds a layer of melancholy to every transformation sequence because you know that the smartest being in 5 galaxies watches a kid turn into Humongousaur to punch a robot and thinks about how far his dream has fallen. Azimuth's creation of the Omnitrix happened decades before the original series, and the device's history before it landed on Earth is a story in itself, involving Vilgax's obsessive pursuit of it, the destruction it caused even before Ben found it, and the way it became a symbol of power that every warlord and conqueror in the galaxy wanted to possess. The Omnitrix was not meant for Ben, not specifically, though some fans and some episodes hint at a kind of destiny or cosmic coincidence that put it on his wrist, and the fact that a 10-year-old became the wielder of the most powerful device in the universe is both the central premise of the show and a source of endless conflict, because no one, not even Ben's allies, fully agrees that he should have it. Vilgax, the most persistent and iconic villain in the Ben 10. Long before Ben Tennyson ever found the Omnitrix in the woods, before the plumbers patrolled the galaxy, before most civilizations even learned to harness fire, the universe was already tearing itself apart. We're talking about a period so ancient that the word prehistoric doesn't quite capture it, an era when the fundamental rules governing reality itself were still being contested. This is the story of the Celestial Zapian-Chronosapien War, a conflict that erupted in the deepest reaches of ancient times and nearly unravelled everything that would ever exist. Celestial Sapiens, those reality-warping entities Ben would eventually access through the Alien X transformation, existed as the universe's most powerful beings. Each celestial sapien possessed the ability to reshape matter, energy, space, and thought with nothing more than a consensus between their dual personalities. They resided in the Forge of Creation, a dimension outside normal spacetime where infant celestial sapiens gestated, and where the very concept of existence could be rewritten. These beings didn't just observe the cosmos, they maintained it, acting as self-appointed guardians of cosmic balance, even though their internal debates often paralysed them for millennia at a time. The Chronosapiens represented a different kind of power entirely. Professor Paradox would later describe them as a species that evolved not just through time, but because of it, their biology so intertwined with temporal mechanics that they could perceive past, present, and future as a single continuous landscape. Where celestial sapiens could alter reality through sheer will, Chronosapiens manipulated the fourth dimension itself, reaching into yesterday to change tomorrow. Their homeworld existed in a state of constant temporal flux, buildings aging backward, while their inhabitants walked through doors that led to last week. Every chronosapien possessed an innate understanding of causality that would drive most organic minds to madness. The war didn't start with a declaration or a single act of aggression. It began with ambition. The chronosapiens, for all their temporal mastery, recognized that celestial sapiens held ultimate authority over existence itself. A celestial sapien could simply decide that an entire species had never existed, and reality would reshape itself to accommodate that decision. This bothered the chronosapiens on a fundamental level. They saw time as the supreme force in the universe, the river in which all events flowed, and they believed that controlling time meant controlling everything else. So they started small, adjusting minor historical events, tweaking the outcomes of cosmic accidents, steering the development of primitive civilizations toward outcomes that favored chronosapien interests. At first, the celestial sapiens didn't notice. Their attention spans operated on scales that made geological ages look like eye blinks, and the changes the chronosapiens introduced seemed insignificant. A star that should have gone supernova fizzled out instead. A species that should have achieved spaceflight destroyed itself in nuclear fire. A crucial meeting between two ancient civilizations never happened because one of them took a different route through the galaxy. These alterations rippled outward through causality, subtle but accumulating, reshaping the universe's trajectory one small edit at a time. When the celestial sapiens finally recognized the pattern, they perceived it as an existential threat. The forge of creation existed outside normal time, specifically to protect celestial sapiens from temporal manipulation. But the universe they were meant to safeguard was being rewritten beneath them. Entire timelines were diverging from their intended paths. The cosmic balance they had maintained since their own creation was tilting, and the chronosapiens showed no signs of stopping. In fact, they were accelerating, growing bolder as they realized the celestial sapiens' response time was measured in epochs. The celestial sapiens' counterattack was characteristically extreme. Rather than simply undoing the chronosapiens' changes, which would have created a temporal tug-of-war that could shred causality itself, they decided to create overseers. The contumelia came into being not through evolution or natural processes, but through deliberate celestial sapien design. These cosmic architects were purpose-built entities, existing partially outside normal reality, so they could observe and enforce universal laws without being subject to temporal manipulation. The contumelia appeared as abstract beings, their true forms incomprehensible to most species, perceived differently by every observer. When Ben would eventually encounter them, he'd see them as smoothie-like creatures, but that was just his brain's attempt to process something fundamentally beyond human perception. The contumelia's first act was to establish the Celestial Tribunal, a governing body that would arbitrate cosmic disputes and prevent any single species from dominating the fundamental forces of existence. The tribunal existed in a pocket dimension, accessible only through specific cosmic coordinates, a courtroom where the laws of physics were suggestions and where evidence could be presented from multiple timelines simultaneously. The celestial sapiens granted the tribunal authority to enforce cosmic balance, giving it power that rivaled their own in specific circumstances. This was an unprecedented move, celestial sapiens voluntarily limiting their own authority to create a system of checks and balances. The chronosapiens viewed the tribunal as an intolerable restriction on their temporal sovereignty. They saw it, correctly, as a cage designed specifically to contain them. So they did what they did best. They tried to change history so the tribunal never existed. Chrono-sapien infiltrators, masters of temporal camouflage, attempted to embed themselves in the moments before the tribunal's creation, planning to introduce paradoxes that would prevent the celestial sapiens from ever conceiving the idea. But the celestial sapiens had anticipated this. They'd woven temporal defenses into the tribunal's very existence, creating what Professor Paradox would later call fixed points, moments in time that resisted alteration because they were anchored by celestial sapien will. The infiltrators found themselves trapped in temporal loops, reliving the same failed assassination attempts across infinite iterations, unable to escape or succeed. This failure enraged the Chronosapiens and convinced them that half measures wouldn't work. If they couldn't prevent the tribunal's creation, they'd eliminate the celestial sapiens entirely. They chose the null void as their battlefield, that infinite pocket dimension that existed outside normal space, a place where the laws of physics were already compromised, and where temporal weapons might achieve effects impossible in regular reality. The null void, which would later serve as a prison for the galaxy's most dangerous criminals, became the staging ground for an assault on existence itself. The Chronosapiens deployed their most advanced temporal technology, devices that could reach backward through time and erase a species' entire evolutionary history. They planned to make it so celestial sapiens had never evolved, never existed, never created the contumelia or the tribunal. The attack was launched simultaneously across multiple time periods, thousands of Chronosapien warriors striking at the moment of the celestial sapiens' origin. But celestial sapiens didn't have an origin, not in any conventional sense. They existed because they decided to exist. Their presence in reality more fundamental than causality itself. The temporal erasure weapons struck them and simply stopped working, like trying to delete a computer's operating system while it was running. The celestial sapiens' counterattack was devastating. They unleashed their full reality warping capabilities, not to destroy the Chronosapiens, but to trap them in paradoxes of their own making. Chronosapien warriors found themselves caught in temporal loops, where they were simultaneously attacking and being defeated, existing in superpositions of victory and failure that their time-sensitive biology couldn't process. Some Chronosapiens aged 1 billion years in seconds. Others reverted to infancy. Still others found themselves scattered across multiple time periods, their consciousness fragmented across centuries, unable to die because they were already dead in 17 different timelines. The war was escalating beyond anything the universe had witnessed. Stars were winking out of existence as temporal changes propagated through their life cycles. Entire civilizations were flickering in and out of reality as the Chronosapiens and Celestial Sapiens rewrote the conditions that had allowed them to evolve. The fabric of space-time was developing stress fractures, places where causality simply broke down and effects preceded causes. The universe was coming apart at its seams. In desperation, the Chronosapiens created their ultimate weapon. The Chrono-Navigator, a device that would later fall into the hands of Maltruant and nearly destroy everything, was originally forged in the depths of the ancient war. It wasn't just a time travel device, it was a tool for rewriting entire timelines instantaneously, for reaching into the structure of causality itself and rearranging it like a puzzle. With the Chrono-Navigator, a single Chronosapien could reshape all of history in an instant, creating a universe where celestial sapiens had never held power, where Chronosapiens ruled supreme over every dimension and every moment. The device was completed in a hidden temporal facility, a location that existed in all time periods, simultaneously, and therefore could be accessed from none of them. the Chrono Sapiens planned to activate it from this secure location, rewriting reality before the Celestial Sapiens could respond. But the Contumelia detected the navigator's creation through cosmic surveillance systems that monitored threats to universal stability. They alerted the Celestial Sapiens, who acted with uncharacteristic speed. A strike team of Celestial Sapiens, having actually achieved internal consensus for once, manifested directly inside the temporal facility, bypassing its defences by simply deciding those defences had never existed. The battle for the Chrono Navigator lasted microseconds and millennia simultaneously, time behaving strangely when Celestial Sapiens and Chrono Sapiens fought in close proximity. The facility aged and de-aged, existed and didn't exist, was destroyed and was never built. In the end, the Celestial Sapiens seized the Navigator and made a decision that would echo through all subsequent history. They destroyed it, not by breaking it physically, but by reaching into every timeline where it existed and erasing it from causality. The destruction created a temporal shockwave that propagated both forward and backward through time, and fragments of the Navigator were scattered across multiple eras. One of those fragments would eventually be recovered and rebuilt by Maltruant, but that's a story for a much later age. The destruction of the Chrono Navigator should have ended the war, but it only intensified it. The Chrono Sapiens, having lost their ultimate weapon, became reckless. They launched a direct assault on the Forge of Creation itself, attempting to invade the one place in existence where Celestial Sapiens were truly vulnerable, where infant Celestial Sapiens gestated without the dual personalities that gave their adult form such power. If the Chrono Sapiens could destroy the nursery, they could ensure no new Celestial Sapiens would ever be born, and the existing ones would eventually fall to entropy or internal debate. The Celestial Sapiens didn't just win, they rewrote the rules of existence itself. With the Chrono Sapiens scattered across dimensions and their temporal fortresses reduced to cosmic dust, the reality-warping beings of the Forge of Creation moved to ensure such a conflict could never happen again. The surrender came not through negotiation, but through absolute exhaustion. The Chrono Sapiens finally recognizing that beings who could alter reality with a thought were simply beyond their capacity to defeat, no matter how many timelines they collapsed or how many paradoxes they weaponized. Professor Paradox would later describe this moment as the only time in history when time manipulators voluntarily agreed to limit their own abilities, though the word voluntarily carried a certain irony given that the alternative was complete annihilation. The terms were draconian. Every Chronosapien, from the most powerful temporal architects to the youngest time walkers, would accept binding restrictions on their fundamental nature. The species that had once moved through centuries as easily as humans walk through doorways would now find their abilities constrained, monitored, and subject to laws they had no hand in writing. The Celestial Tribunal, that mysterious council of Celestial Sapiens who somehow managed to agree on matters of cosmic importance despite their species' notorious inability to reach consensus, established what they called the Temporal Prime Directive. The name itself was a declaration of authority. This wasn't a treaty or an agreement between equals. This was law handed down from beings who existed outside normal space and time, enforceable through reality manipulation itself. The Temporal Prime Directive consisted of prohibitions so fundamental they essentially neutered the Chronosapiens' greatest advantage. Unauthorized alterations to established timelines became the highest cosmic crime. The directive defined unauthorized in terms only Celestial Sapiens could interpret, which meant in practice that any temporal change not explicitly approved by the Celestial Tribunal, violated the new order. Chrono sapiens could no longer freely travel to pivotal moments in history. They couldn't prevent disasters, couldn't save civilizations, couldn't even observe certain critical junctures without permission. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The species that understood time better than any other was now forbidden from using that understanding. But the celestial sapiens weren't satisfied with mere rules. Rules could be broken, especially by beings whose entire existence revolved around manipulating cause and effect, so they went further. The Chrono sapiens faced exile, though not to some distant galaxy or forgotten corner of the universe. No, the Celestial Tribunal created a pocket dimension specifically to house the defeated time manipulators, a cosmic prison that existed adjacent to normal reality, but forever separate from it. Ben Tennyson would eventually learn about these pocket dimensions during his own adventures, though he never quite grasped the full horror of what it meant to be trapped in one. Imagine existing in a space where time flows normally for you, but where every connection to the broader timeline has been severed. You can remember the past, anticipate the future, but you can't touch either. You're isolated in an eternal present. The contumelia took on the role of jailers, though they'd probably object to that characterization. These enigmatic beings, who appeared differently to every species that observed them, had remained neutral during the war itself. Ben encountered them much later, during the events surrounding the Annihilage, and found them frustratingly cryptic. But in this ancient era, the contumelia served a clear purpose. They monitored the exiled Chrono sapiens, ensuring compliance with the Temporal Prime Directive through means that remain unclear even to modern temporal scholars. Professor Paradox, himself a human transformed into a time-walking anomaly, once suggested the contumelia possessed technology that could detect temporal disturbances before they happened. A paradox in itself, but one that made them perfect overseers. The celestial sapiens weren't done reshaping the cosmos. Somewhere, in the aftermath of the war, whether through collective decision or the rare unanimous vote that celestial sapiens occasionally achieved, they created the Omnitrix. The device that would eventually end up on Ben Tennyson's wrist had its origins in this ancient conflict. Designed not as a weapon but as a preservation tool. The Omnitrix's true purpose, as Azimuth the Galvan creator would later explain, was to preserve genetic diversity across the universe. But the timing of its creation tells a different story. The celestial sapiens had just witnessed a war that threatened to unravel reality itself, a conflict that demonstrated how cosmic imbalances could spiral into existential threats. The Omnitrix, with its ability to store and transform its user into any species in the known universe, served as insurance against extinction events and genetic bottlenecks. If another cosmic war erupted, if another species gained too much power and threatened the balance, the Omnitrix would ensure that diversity survived. Azimuth would eventually take credit for building the Omnitrix, and he did construct the physical device that Ben wears. But the Galvan inventor was working from celestial sapien designs, building a machine that reality warpers had conceptualized but couldn't physically create themselves. The greatest minds in 5 galaxies couldn't have invented the Omnitrix from scratch. It required the perspective of beings who existed outside normal causality, who could see the full scope of what the universe needed. Azimuth was brilliant, possibly the smartest being in the galaxy, but even he was following a blueprint written in the cosmic aftermath of the Celestial Apian-Chrono-Sapien War. The contumelia, having taken on the responsibility of monitoring the Chrono-Sapiens, expanded their mission. They began cataloguing timelines, all of them, every branching possibility and parallel universe. The map of infinity, which Ben and his team would later seek during their conflict with Aggregar, was just one tool in this vast cataloguing effort. The Contumelia understood that the war had revealed a fundamental vulnerability in the structure of reality. Rogue factions, whether chronosapiens seeking revenge or other species discovering temporal technology, could exploit the multiverse's complexity to hide their activities. So the Contumelia mapped everything. Every timeline where Ben Tennyson got the Omnitrix, every universe where he didn't, every reality where the hybrids succeeded in their cleansing, every possibility where Vilgax conquered Earth. All of it went into their records, a cosmic census that would prevent future disruptions by making it impossible for temporal criminals to hide in the cracks between realities. The Celestial Zapians added another layer of control, something they called the Chrono Lock. This wasn't a physical device or a location. The Chrono Lock was a fundamental alteration to how Chronosapiens interacted with time itself, a safeguard woven into the fabric of their species. Every Chronosapien, whether they'd fought in the war or been born afterward, carried the Chrono Lock within their very being. It prevented them from accessing their full time manipulation powers, kept them from reaching the levels of temporal control their ancestors had wielded. Professor Paradox existed as a strange exception to this rule. But then Paradox wasn't technically a Chronosapien. He was a human who'd been transformed by an accident with a time travel experiment, and the Chrono Lock didn't apply to him because he'd never been subject to the Celestial Tribunal's judgment. Eon, another time-manipulating villain Ben faced, similarly operated outside the Chrono Lock's restrictions, though his powers came through different means entirely. The war's aftermath demanded more than restrictions and prisons. The Celestial Sapiens recognized that time itself needed protection, a dedicated infrastructure to ensure its proper flow. They created the time stream, though created might be the wrong word. The time stream had always existed in some form, the pathway through which cause led to effect, the river of causality that carried the universe from past to future. But the Celestial Sapiens transformed it, reinforced it, made it a protected cosmic pathway that couldn't be easily diverted or dammed. Ben would travel through the time stream multiple times during his adventures, usually when Professor Paradox needed to show him something important, or when Eon attempted one of his schemes. The time stream appeared as a green-tinted tunnel of flowing energy, with windows opening onto different eras and events. But that visual representation was just how human minds interpreted something far more complex, a fundamental structure of reality that the Celestial Sapiens had fortified against future temporal wars. Protection required guardians. The Celestial Sapiens appointed the Chrono Guardians, a group whose membership and methods remain largely mysterious. Professor Paradox might have been one of them, or he might have operated independently. The show never fully clarified his relationship with cosmic authority, though he clearly had permission to move through time in ways that would violate the Temporal Prime Directive if anyone else attempted them. The Chrono Guardian's task was straightforward in concept, but impossibly complex in execution. They monitored the time stream for breaches, watched for unauthorized temporal manipulation, and intervened when necessary to preserve the proper flow of history. When Maltruant, the rogue Chronosapien who served as one of Ben's most dangerous opponents, attempted to use the Annihilarg to recreate the universe with himself as its architect, the Chrono Guardian's safeguards were what ultimately allowed Ben and Rook to stop him. The Chronosapiens, trapped in their pocket dimension and stripped of their greatest powers, didn't accept defeat gracefully. Resentment festered. They'd been the masters of time, the species that understood causality better than any other, and now they lived as prisoners. Their abilities locked away by beings who'd won through brute reality, warping force, rather than temporal sophistication. In secret, using what limited abilities the chronolocks still permitted, they began plotting. The plan was audacious, maybe impossible, but desperation breeds ambition. They would regain their lost powers, break free from the pocket dimension, and overthrow the celestial tribunal itself. The logistics were staggering. How do you overthrow beings who can rewrite reality with a thought? The Chrono Sapiens believed they'd found an answer in time itself. If they could somehow break the chrono lock, if they could access their full temporal abilities again, they could attack the Celestial Sapiens before the Celestial Sapiens became powerful enough to stop them. It was a paradox, but paradoxes were the Chrono Sapiens' specialty. They didn't account for Celestial Sapien omniscience. Beings who existed outside normal time and who could observe all possible realities simultaneously weren't easy to surprise. The Celestial Tribunal discovered the plot, though whether through the Contumelia's monitoring or through their own reality-spanning awareness remains unclear. Their response was immediate and comprehensive. They reinforced the chrono lock with additional safeguards, layers upon layers of restrictions that made the original limitations look gentle by comparison. Some Chrono Sapiens found themselves unable to perceive time as anything but a linear progression, forced to experience existence the way most species did, moment by moment, with no awareness of what came before or after. Others retained some temporal sense but found themselves completely unable to act on it, cursed to see the flow of time but never touch it. The punishment fit the crime, or at least the Celestial Sapiens thought so. The Contumelia, having overseen the entire sorry affair, made an official declaration. The Celestial Sapien Chrono Sapien War was ended, not just in practice, but in cosmic law. They marked it in their records, in their timeline catalogues, in the fundamental structure of how they organized reality. This declaration carried weight beyond mere symbolism. It meant that any attempt to restart the conflict would face opposition not just from the Celestial Sapiens, but from the cosmic order itself, from the structures and safeguards that now protected the time stream and regulated temporal manipulation. A new era had begun, one of cosmic stability purchased through overwhelming force and eternal vigilance. The war's legacy didn't fade. Other races learned what had happened, either through direct observation or through stories passed down across millennia. They learned that tampering with time carried consequences beyond mere paradoxes or causality violations. Time manipulation could threaten reality itself, could spark conflicts that endangered the entire universe. Species that might have pursued temporal technology decided the risk wasn't worth it. Civilizations that had begun experimenting with time travel abandoned their research. The Celestial Sapien Chrono Sapien War became a cautionary tale, a reminder that some powers were too dangerous to wield, some knowledge too costly to pursue. When Ben Tennyson eventually faced Maltruant and witnessed a Chrono Sapien attempting to remake the universe, he was seeing the last echo of that ancient conflict, the final gasp of a species that had once controlled time itself and still couldn't accept what they'd lost. Centuries before Ben Tennyson would ever slip the Omnitrix onto his wrist, and long after the Celestial Sapiens and Chrono Sapiens had torn reality apart and stitched it back together, another force was beginning its slow, methodical rise to power. While the Time War had reshaped the fundamental laws governing existence itself, the galaxy's countless inhabited worlds continued their own struggles, their own cycles of conquest and collapse. On one such world, a planet that would eventually bear his name, a being was born who would become synonymous with terror across 100 star systems. Vilgax entered the universe on Vilgaxia, a world that made survival an art form and weakness a death sentence. Vilgaxia was not a kind planet. The world that produced Vilgax had been locked in perpetual conflict for generations, its surface scarred by wars that predated living memory. Warlords controlled territories through sheer brutality, and the concept of peace existed only as a temporary lull between battles. Resources were scarce, fought over with a desperation that made every skirmish a potential massacre. The planet's harsh conditions bred a particular kind of warrior, one who understood that power was the only currency that mattered, and that mercy was simply another word for suicide. Into this crucible of violence, Vilgax was born, and the galaxy would spend centuries regretting that fact. The young Vilgax grew up in one of Vilgaxia's countless villages, settlements that existed in the shadows of larger warlord territories, paying tribute and hoping to avoid annihilation. His early years were defined by the constant threat of violence, the knowledge that any day could bring raiders or rival factions looking to expand their holdings. The chimera sui generis species, Vilgax's people, had evolved on this brutal world, developing incredible strength and durability as natural responses to their environment. But even among his own kind, Vilgax showed signs of exceptional physical prowess, a strength that would only grow more terrifying with age. He watched his village's warriors train, absorbed their techniques, and understood from an early age that power was not simply inherited, but seized. That understanding became absolute truth the day the warlords came. Vilgax was still a child when rival factions, locked in one of Vilgaxia's endless territorial disputes, decided his village occupied strategically valuable ground. Now, the attack came without warning, without mercy, and without survivors among those who resisted. Vilgax watched his home burn, watched warriors he had known his entire life cut down by forces that saw them as nothing more than obstacles to be removed. The warlords who destroyed his village were not motivated by hatred or even greed in the traditional sense. They simply wanted the land, and the people on it were irrelevant. For young Vilgax, the lesson was clear and seared itself into his mind with the same fire that consumed his childhood home. Power was the only thing that mattered. Those who had it survived. Those who did not were erased. The destruction of his village did not break Vilgax. It forged him. Where another child might have been traumatized into paralysis, Vilgax channeled his rage into purpose. He survived the attack through a combination of luck and an already developing tactical mind, and he emerged from the ruins with a singular obsession. Revenge, certainly, but something larger than personal vengeance. Vilgax understood that the warlords who destroyed his home were themselves vulnerable, that Vilgaxia's fractured power structure meant everyone was constantly at risk. The solution was obvious. Someone needed to unite the planet under a single rule, to end the constant warfare by establishing dominance so complete that resistance became unthinkable. Vilgax decided he would be that someone. He began his rise through Vilgaxia's military structures, joining one of the larger warlord factions and demonstrating an aptitude for combat that quickly drew attention. Vilgax trained with an intensity that bordered on obsession, pushing his already formidable chimera sui generis physiology to its absolute limits. He studied strategy, learning not just how to fight but how to win, how to identify weaknesses and exploit them without hesitation. His tactical mind proved as dangerous as his physical strength. Vilgax understood that battles were won before the first blow was struck, through positioning, through preparation, through understanding your enemy better than they understood themselves. He rose through the ranks with terrifying speed, accumulating victories and leaving a trail of defeated opponents in his wake. What truly distinguished Vilgax from other ambitious warriors on Vilgaxia was his ruthlessness. Other fighters might hesitate, might show mercy to a defeated foe, or spare civilians caught in a conflict's crossfire. Vilgax saw such gestures as weaknesses to be exploited. When he fought to win completely, to crush his opponents so thoroughly that they could never threaten him again. His tactics earned him a reputation that spread across Vilgaxia's war-torn surface. Enemies learned to fear the name Vilgax, to understand that facing him in battle meant facing someone who would not stop, would not negotiate, would not accept anything less than total victory. His own allies learned to respect his effectiveness, even as they grew wary of his ambition. The title came naturally, the Conqueror. Vilgax did not give himself the name. It emerged organically from the countless battles he won and the territories he claimed. By the time he had spent years climbing Vilgaxia's brutal hierarchy, the title was simply a statement of fact. Vilgax conquered. It was what he did, what he was built for, what the destruction of his village had set him on a path to become. The young warrior who had watched his home burn had transformed into something far more dangerous. A military genius with the strength to back up his strategies and the will to do whatever victory required. But Vilgax's ambitions had grown beyond simple revenge against the warlords who destroyed his village. He looked at Vilgaxia's fractured territories and saw inefficiency, saw wasted potential in a planet that spent all its considerable martial strength fighting itself. Uniting Vilgaxia was not a quick process. The planet's warlords had spent generations carving out their territories, and they did not surrender power willingly. Vilgax approached the problem with the same methodical ruthlessness he brought to every challenge. Some warlords he defeated in a direct combat, demonstrating his superior strength and tactical acumen in battles that became legendary across Vilgaxia. Others he outmaneuvered politically, forming temporary alliances that allowed him to eliminate mutual enemies before turning on his erstwhile partners. Vilgax understood that brute force alone, while effective, was not always efficient. Sometimes diplomacy served his purposes better, and he proved as skilled at negotiation as he was at warfare. The key was understanding what each warlord wanted, what they feared, and using that knowledge to either bring them into his fold or destroy them. The campaign to unite Vilgaxia took years, but Vilgax was patient when patience served his goals. One by one, the planet's fractured territories fell under his control. Some warlords bent the knee, recognizing that Vilgax offered them a choice between serving in his unified military or dying in defense of their independence. Others fought to the bitter end and were crushed, their territories absorbed, and their followers given the same choice their leaders had refused. Vilgax combined diplomacy and brute force with a precision that demonstrated his evolution from simple warrior to true conqueror. By the time the last independent warlord had either submitted or been eliminated, Vilgax stood as the undisputed ruler of his homeworld. The planet that had forged him in violence now belonged to him completely. But Vilgax did not unite Vilgaxia to bring peace. He unified the planet because a divided world wasted its strength on internal conflicts, while a united Vilgaxia could turn its considerable military might outward. With his homeworld secured, Vilgax looked to the stars and saw opportunity. The galaxy was full of worlds, each with its own resources, its own populations, its own potential to serve his growing empire. Vilgax had conquered his planet. Now he would conquer others. The transition from planetary warlord to interstellar conqueror required resources and technology beyond what Vilgaxia alone could provide. But Vilgax had spent years building a military machine designed for exactly this purpose. His unified forces gave him the manpower, and his tactical genius gave him the strategy. All he needed was a target. Pyros became that first target, a decision driven by cold, strategic calculation. The planet was resource-rich, its volcanic surface containing minerals and energy sources that would fuel Vilgax's expanding war machine. Pyros was also inhabited by the Pyronites, a species of living magma capable of generating and controlling intense heat. Ben Tennyson would eventually access this species through the Omnitrix in the form of heat blast, but centuries before that 10-year-old would ever ignite his first flame, the Pyronites faced an invasion force that cared nothing for their world except what could be extracted from it. Vilgax studied Pyros carefully before launching his assault, learning its defences, understanding its inhabitants' capabilities, identifying the weak points in their planetary security. The invasion of Pyros demonstrated everything Vilgax had learned during his rise to power. He did not simply throw his forces at the planet and hope for victory. He planned the assault with meticulous care, positioning his ships to cut off escape routes and reinforcements, striking at strategic locations that would cripple Pyros's ability to mount an organized defense. The Pyronites were formidable warriors, their natural abilities making them dangerous opponents in any conflict. But Vilgax had faced dangerous opponents his entire life, and he understood that raw power meant nothing without the strategy to deploy it effectively. His forces engaged the Pyronites in a decisive battle that showcased Vilgax's tactical superiority. Where the defenders fought bravely but reactively, Vilgax's army moved with coordinated precision, each unit serving a specific purpose in a larger plan. The battle for Pyros ended in Vilgaxian victory, though not without cost. The Pyronites' natural abilities made them devastating opponents, and Vilgax's forces took casualties that would have broken a less determined commander. But Vilgax had not come to Pyros to minimize losses. He had come to win, and win he did. The planet fell under his control, its defenders either killed in battle or forced to submit to Vilgaxian rule. Vilgax established his first extraterrestrial stronghold on Pyros, setting up mining operations to extract the resources he needed and garrison forces to maintain control. The conquest of Pyros proved a concept that Vilgax had long believed. His strength, his tactics, his will to do whatever victory required, these were not limited to Vilgaxia. They worked across the galaxy. If he could conquer Pyros, he could conquer anywhere. The Galvan homeworld of Galvan Prime stood as perhaps the most technologically sophisticated civilization in the known universe, a fact that naturally drew Vilgax's attention like a moth to a particularly dangerous flame. The Galvan themselves were diminutive, standing no taller than a human forearm, but their intellect compensated for their size in ways that made them indispensable to galactic progress. Vilgax understood that raw power alone would not secure his dominance. He needed the kind of technology that could only be found in Galvan laboratories, devices that bent the laws of physics like cheap wire. His assault on Galvan Prime was methodical, calculated to exploit the species' one genuine weakness, their physical frailty. Vilgax deployed swarms of drones programmed to overwhelm the planet's defensive grids, while his personal forces targeted research facilities housing prototype weapons and dimensional stabilizers. The Galvan, however, had not survived countless millennia by being unprepared. Their defensive systems, while designed by pacifists, were devastatingly effective, employing non-lethal containment fields that could trap entire battalions in temporal loops. Vilgax found himself fighting not just soldiers, but the planet itself, as Galvan Prime's infrastructure actively worked to expel the invasion force. It was during this assault that Vilgax first encountered Azimuth, the Galvan who had become his most persistent obstacle. Azimuth was not a warrior by any stretch of the imagination. He was a scientist, arguably the greatest scientific mind the universe had ever produced, and he viewed Vilgax's invasion as a tiresome interruption to more important work. Two met in the wreckage of a research complex that Vilgax had just finished raiding, expecting to find weapons, but instead discovering only theoretical schematics for something called the Omnitrix. Azimuth stood amid the rubble, seemingly unconcerned by the towering warlord before him, and calmly informed Vilgax that he had wasted his time. The Omnitrix, Azimuth explained, was not a weapon despite what its capabilities might suggest. It was a tool for understanding, a device meant to allow beings to literally walk in another species' genetic footprint and thereby foster empathy across the cosmos. Vilgax, naturally, saw only the tactical applications. A device that could transform its user into any alien species, granting access to their unique abilities, their evolutionary advantages, their biological weapon systems. That was the ultimate conquest tool. Azimuth recognized the hunger in Vilgax's eyes and made a vow in that moment: the Omnitrix would be protected at any cost, hidden from those who would pervert its purpose. Vilgax attempted to simply take the information by force, but Azimuth had already triggered a data purge, erasing every schematic, every calculation, every hint of the Omnitrix's location from Galvan Prime's networks. The warlord barely escaped the planet as its defences finally coordinated a response that would have atomized his ship, and he left with nothing but the knowledge that somewhere in the universe a device of unimaginable power existed, and Azimuth knew where it was. The search for the Omnitrix became Vilgax's obsession, consuming resources and attention that might have been better spent consolidating his existing territories. His intelligence network, vast and ruthlessly efficient, eventually uncovered whispers of an Earth-based organization that had been collecting alien artifacts for centuries. The Forever Knights, as they called themselves, operated in the shadows of human civilization, a secretive order that traced its lineage back to medieval times when a damaged alien spacecraft had crashed in the Black Forest. The Knights had built their entire philosophy around preparing humanity for what they saw as an inevitable alien invasion, stockpiling technology they barely understood, and conducting experiments that would have horrified any ethics board. Vilgax saw them as useful idiots, primitives playing with forces beyond their comprehension, but they had something he needed: a network of informants and archaeological sites that might hold clues to the Omnitrix's whereabouts. The alliance was temporary by design, with both parties fully aware they were using each other. Vilgax provided the Forever Knights with advanced weaponry, nothing that would actually threaten him, but enough to make them feel powerful, while they shared their collected intelligence on alien activity throughout Earth's history. It was through this partnership that Vilgax first learned Earth was not the backwater planet it appeared to be. Earth, it turned out, held strategic importance far beyond its primitive technology level or its relatively young civilization. The planet had become a crossroads for alien activity, a neutral ground where dozens of species maintained covert operations, conducted research, or simply tried to live quietly away from galactic politics. The Plumbers, an intergalactic law enforcement organization, had established Earth as a protected zone precisely because of this diverse population, creating a sanctuary of sorts where beings from across the universe could coexist. Ben Tennyson's hometown of Bellwood alone harboured more alien residents than most humans would encounter in a lifetime, though the locals remained blissfully unaware of their extraterrestrial neighbours. Vilgax recognised that this concentration of alien DNA, alien technology, and alien knowledge made Earth a prize worth claiming. If the Omnitrix was designed to sample alien DNA, then Earth represented the ultimate testing ground, a living library of genetic material from species that might otherwise require decades of space travel to encounter. The planet's strategic value was further enhanced by its location at the intersection of several major hyperspace lanes, making it an ideal staging ground for military operations. Vilgax began planning an invasion that would secure Earth as a forward operating base while simultaneously allowing him to search for the Omnitrix. The invasion, when it came, was overwhelming in its initial ferocity. Vilgax deployed his forces across multiple continents simultaneously, targeting population centres and known plumber installations with equal ruthlessness. His strategy relied on shock and awe, hitting Earth so hard and so fast that any organised resistance would crumble before it could form. What Vilgax had not anticipated was the sheer determination of the planet's defenders. The plumbers, far from being caught off guard, had been monitoring Vilgax's movements for months and had prepared accordingly. They activated sleeper agents embedded in human society, called in favours from alien refugees who owed them protection, and coordinated with local heroes who had been operating independently. The battle for Earth became a chaotic mess of conventional military forces trying to understand what was happening. Plumber units deploying technology that looked like magic to human observers, and individual heroes leveraging their unique abilities to turn the tide in localized skirmishes. Vilgax found himself fighting not a unified army, but a hydra. Cut off one head, and 3 more appeared from unexpected directions. A kind Celeran courier used her super speed to sabotage his ground force's communication arrays. A Petrosapian warrior, one of the crystalline aliens from the planet Petropia, shattered an entire battalion of drones with precisely aimed shards. The coalition was messy, uncoordinated by military standards, but effective in ways that frustrated Vilgax's tactical planning. He had conquered planets with armies 10 times more organised, but those armies had fought like armies, predictable and hierarchical. Earth's defenders fought like a swarm, adapting and improvising faster than his forces could respond. The retreat to the Chimerian hammer was not quite a defeat, but it certainly was not the victory Vilgax had envisioned. His flagship hung in orbit above Earth, a massive vessel that dwarfed anything humanity could have launched, bristling with weapons capable of glassing entire continents. Vilgax could have simply bombarded the planet from orbit, turned its surface into a lifeless wasteland, but that would have destroyed the very resources he sought to claim. The Omnitrix, if it was on Earth, would be buried under radioactive rubble. The alien populations would be dead, their genetic material rendered useless. Vilgax needed a more surgical approach, and that required time to regroup and gather better intelligence. The Chimerian hammer became his mobile headquarters, a fortress from which he could observe Earth while planning his next move. His crew worked around the clock, analysing the failed invasion, identifying the key players in Earth's defence network, mapping plumber installations that had revealed themselves during the fighting. Vilgax knew that his reputation had taken a hit. The mighty conqueror repelled by a coalition of refugees and peacekeepers, but he also knew that setbacks were temporary. He had conquered too many worlds, crushed too many civilizations to be stopped by one failed invasion. It was during this regrouping phase that Myax approached him, or more accurately, allowed herself to be captured by his forces. Myax was a chimera sui generis like Vilgax himself, though far less physically imposing, and she claimed to be a rogue plumber with information worth trading. Her story was almost believable. She had worked as a technical specialist for the plumbers, maintaining their deep space monitoring stations until she had grown tired of their rigid, moral code and their refusal to use the technology at their disposal for personal gain. She knew things, locations of hidden bases, names of undercover operatives, and most importantly, she claimed to know who currently possessed the Omnitrix. Vilgax was suspicious by nature. He had not survived this long by trusting convenient defectors, but Myax offered verifiable intelligence as a show of good faith. She provided coordinates to a plumber weapons cache that Vilgax's forces confirmed and raided successfulully. She gave up the names of 3 undercover agents who were subsequently captured and interrogated, their information matching what Myax had already revealed. In exchange for her continued cooperation, Myax wanted power, not the abstract concept, but actual authority within Vilgax's organization, a position where she could leverage her technical expertise into influence and wealth. Vilgax agreed, though he made no promises about her long-term survival. Myax was useful, but useful tools could be discarded once their purpose was served. Through Myax, Vilgax learned something that transformed his understanding of the Omnitrix's true potential. The device was not simply a DNA sampler for living species. It could theoretically access genetic material from extinct species, creatures that had been wiped out by natural disasters, wars, or the simple passage of evolutionary time. Azimuth had designed the Omnitrix as a repository, a genetic ark meant to preserve the biological diversity of the universe against the possibility of mass extinctions. This meant that whoever wielded the Omnitrix could transform into beings whose powers had been lost to history, apex predators from dead worlds, evolutionary dead ends that had possessed abilities no living species could match. Vilgax saw immediately how this changed the equation. He was not just seeking a weapon, he was seeking access to an entire universe of extinct potential, genetic templates that could be studied, replicated, and weaponized. The Omnitrix could make him not just powerful, but unique, granting him abilities that no other being in the universe could counter, because no other being remembered how to fight them. His desire to possess the device, already intense, became all-consuming. The problem was that Vilgax's increasingly aggressive search for the Omnitrix was drawing attention from parties he would have preferred to avoid. His reputation as a feared intergalactic tyrant had been growing for years, but his obsession with Earth and the Omnitrix caused multiple civilizations to take notice simultaneously. Species that had previously remained neutral in galactic politics began to see Vilgax as an existential threat, reasoning that if he was willing to invade a protected planet and defy the plumbers so openly, nowhere was truly safe. A coalition began to form, not an official alliance with treaties and bureaucracy, but an informal understanding that Vilgax needed to be stopped before he acquired whatever he was searching for. The plumbers found themselves with unexpected allies, governments that had previously viewed them as meddlesome, offering resources and intelligence. Vilgax discovered that his supply lines were being raided, his scout ships were disappearing, and his informant networks were being systematically dismantled. The universe was pushing back, and while no single civilization could match his military might, the combined weight of dozens of species working in loose coordination created problems that even Vilgax could not simply punch through. The major setback came during an encounter with the Galactic Enforcers, a team of heroes who operated on a universal scale, handling threats that individual planets could not manage alone. The Enforcers, Ultimos with his Kryptonian-level strength, Synaptak with his psychic abilities, and Teeny with her size-changing powers, had been tracking Vilgax for months, waiting for an opportunity to strike when he was vulnerable. That opportunity came when the Chimerian hammer was conducting repairs near an asteroid field. Its shields temporarily reduced to allow maintenance crews access to the hull. The Enforcers attacked with precision, targeting the flagship's power core and weapon systems in a coordinated assault that Vilgax barely managed to repel. The battle was brutal and costly, with both sides taking heavy damage, but the Enforcers had achieved their objective. The Chimerian hammer, Vilgax's mobile fortress and symbol of his power, was crippled beyond field repair. Vilgax ordered the evacuation, as the ship's containment systems failed, watching from an escape pod as his flagship tore itself apart in a cascade of explosions that lit up the asteroid field like a dying star. It was perhaps the lowest point in his campaign, stripped of his primary asset and forced to flee like a common pirate. Vilgax retreated to Vilgaxia, his home planet and the seat of his empire, where he could rebuild without the constant threat of attack. Vilgaxia itself was a testament to his philosophy of conquest, a world that had been transformed into a military-industrial complex where every resource was dedicated to supporting his war machine. The planet's original inhabitants, if they had ever existed as a distinct culture, had long since been assimilated into Vilgax's forces or eliminated as inefficient. Factories worked around the clock producing drones, weapons and warships. Training facilities pushed soldiers through brutal regimens designed to create warriors who valued victory over survival. Vilgax spent months on Vilgaxia, overseeing the construction of a new flagship, recruiting new generals to replace those lost in recent battles, and refining his intelligence networks to better track the Omnitrix. He also took time to upgrade himself, undergoing cybernetic enhancements that increased his already formidable strength and durability. Vilgax emerged from this period of rebuilding more dangerous than ever, his temporary setbacks having taught him patience and the value of better preparation. His vow, made in the depths of his fortress on Vilgaxia, was simple and absolute. He would obtain the Omnitrix at any cost, no matter how many fleets he had to build, no matter how many worlds he had to burn, no matter how long it took. The device represented everything Vilgax valued: power, uniqueness, the ability to dominate through superior capability rather than mere numbers. Azimuth had created it as a tool for peace, but Vilgax would prove that any tool could be a weapon in the right hands. He did not yet know that the Omnitrix had been sent to Earth, did not yet know that it would bond with a 10-year-old human child named Ben Tennyson, but he would learn soon enough. The stage was set for a confrontation that would define both their destinies: the warlord who had conquered countless worlds versus the boy who would become the universe's greatest hero. Vilgax's centuries of preparation, his accumulated power and ruthless ambition would all come down to a single question. Could he take the Omnitrix from someone who refused to surrender it? The entire Ben 10 timeline explained. Azimuth creates the Omnitrix, Part 2 of 2. Decades before a 10-year-old boy named Ben Tennyson would stumble upon the most powerful device in the galaxy, the Omnitrix began as a spark of idealism in the mind of Azimuth, the first thinker of the Galvan species. Known for their unparalleled intellect, the Galvan had long been the galaxy's foremost innovators, but Azimuth stood even among them as a genius without equal. His vision for the Omnitrix was not born from a desire for conquest or control, but from a belief that true peace could only be achieved through understanding. If beings could experience life as another species, walk in their shoes, or rather their exoskeletons, tentacles or talons, perhaps the universe's endless conflicts could finally be resolved. This was the core philosophy that would drive the Omnitrix's creation, though its path would soon twist into something far more dangerous than Azimuth ever anticipated. To bring his vision to life, Azimuth assembled a team of Galvan scientists, including the often bumbling but occasionally brilliant duo Blukic and Dreba. While their later appearances in Ben's era would suggest a reputation for comedic ineptitude, their contributions to the Omnitrix's early development were genuine, if occasionally erratic. Together, they tackled the device's core technology, a mechanism capable of storing, stabilizing, and instantly rewriting the user's genetic code to mimic any species within its database. The sheer complexity of this task cannot be overstated. DNA, even for a single species, is a volatile blueprint, and the Omnitrix needed to flawlessly replicate millions of unique biological structures without degradation or error. Early prototypes failed catastrophically, resulting in unstable transformations that risked permanent genetic damage. But azimuth persisted, refining the Omnitrix's bioencoding systems until the transformations became seamless, temporary, and, most critically, safe for the user. The next challenge was populating the Omnitrix's DNA database. Azimuth understood that a tool meant to foster empathy would need an exhaustive catalogue of life forms, from the most common sentient species to the rarest and most elusive. This required a galaxy-spanning effort, with samples collected from thousands of worlds. Some species volunteered willingly, recognizing the Omnitrix's potential for diplomacy. Others, particularly those hostile or reclusive, required more creative acquisition methods. The database grew to include everything from the energy-based beings of the Chronosian homeworld to the crystalline entities of Petropia, each sample meticulously verified and stabilized for future use. Notably, the Omnitrix's early iterations did not include celestial sapiens, as their reality-warping biology defied conventional genetic analysis. Azimuth would later solve this problem, but not before the device fell into Ben's hands. As the Omnitrix neared completion, its purpose remained noble, a tool for transformation, both literal and metaphorical. Azimuth envisioned diplomats using it to negotiate treaties in the form of their counterparts, scientists employing it to study ecosystems firsthand, and warriors disarming conflicts by experiencing the perspectives of their enemies. The Omnitrix was never meant to be a weapon, but in a universe where power is always coveted, the line between tool and armament is often drawn in blood. Enter Vilgax, the warlord from Vilgaxia, whose name would become synonymous with terror across the cosmos. Fresh from his conquests chronicled in the previous era, Vilgax learned of the Omnitrix through his network of spies and informants. Where Azimuth saw unity, Vilgax saw potential. The potential to harness the strengths of every species in the galaxy without their weaknesses. An army of one, capable of adapting to any threat, any battlefield. To Vilgax, the Omnitrix was the ultimate weapon, and he would stop at nothing to claim it. Azimuth, ever the pragmatist, was not blind to the Omnitrix's destructive potential in the wrong hands. He implemented safeguards, including a biometric lock to prevent unauthorized use. But Vilgax was not one to be deterred by mere security measures. Before Azimuth could conduct final tests on the prototype, Vilgax struck, infiltrating the Galvan homeworld with a precision that spoke to careful planning. The theft was swift, leaving Azimuth with little more than scattered data and the grim realization that his life's work was now in the possession of the galaxy's most ruthless tyrant. The fallout was immediate. Vilgax, never one for subtlety, began testing the Omnitrix's combat applications, though his inability to bypass the biometric lock limited its functionality. Still, even a fraction of the Omnitrix's power in Vilgax's hands was a catastrophe waiting to happen. Azimuth, however, was not defenseless. With the help of his assistant Myax, a skilled tracker and combatant, he pursued Vilgax across the stars, following the Omnitrix's energy signature to the desolate planet Ar-Nur-Kufos, a world shrouded in perpetual twilight. Ar-Nur-Kufos was home to some of the galaxy's most feared species, including the Transilian vampires and the werewolf-like lycanthropes. It was here that Vilgax had chosen to lay low, likely believing the planet's ominous reputation would deter pursuit. He was wrong. Azimuth and Myax infiltrated Vilgax's stronghold, engaging in a battle that would decide the fate of the Omnitrix. Myax, though formidable, was ultimately captured by Vilgax, a sacrifice that allowed Azimuth to reclaim the prototype. The confrontation left its mark. Azimuth emerged with the Omnitrix, but the cost was steep. Myax's fate hung in the balance, and the prototype's vulnerabilities had been laid bare. Returning to Galvan Prime, Azimuth faced a sobering truth. The original Omnitrix was too dangerous. Its power was undeniable, but in the wrong hands it could unleash devastation on an unprecedented scale. The biometric lock had slowed Vilgax, but it hadn't stopped him. A new approach was needed, one that didn't just restrict access, but ensured the Omnitrix could only be wielded by someone worthy. Thus began the development of the Omnitrix's final design, the one that would eventually find its way to Ben Tennyson. Azimuth scrapped the prototype's more aggressive features, implementing a failsafe system that would prevent the device from being used as a weapon. The new Omnitrix would bond to its user on a genetic and moral level, rejecting anyone who sought to exploit its power for conquest. It was a radical departure from the original vision, but necessary. With the new Omnitrix complete, Azimuth faced one final dilemma: where to hide it. The device needed to remain out of Vilgax's reach, yet accessible to a potential worthy wielder. The answer, ironically, lay in obscurity. Earth, a backwater planet with minimal interstellar influence, was the perfect hiding place. Vilgax would never think to look there, and humanity's nascent spacefaring status meant the planet was unlikely to attract attention. Azimuth programmed the Omnitrix to remain dormant until it detected a user with the right combination of courage, compassion, and potential. A tall order, but not an impossible one. Little did he know, a young boy on a summer road trip would soon exceed every expectation. But that is a story for another era. For now, the Omnitrix lies in wait, its destiny uncertain, its creator watching from afar. Azimuth's greatest invention, born from hope, tempered by betrayal, and reforged with caution, is ready. All it needs is a hero. With the Omnitrix secured on a primitive backwater planet, far from prying eyes, Azimuth returned to Galvan Prime to resume his work under the guise of normalcy. The creator of the most powerful weapon in the galaxy couldn't risk drawing attention. Not when Vilgax's forces were scouring star systems for any trace of the device. Official records made no mention of the Omnitrix's completion, and Azimuth's lab showed only theoretical equations about DNA manipulation. Yet in secret, the Galvan genius maintained a direct link to the Watch's systems, running periodic diagnostics to ensure its stasis field remained intact. The Omnitrix core, the AI governing the device, had already begun its passive observational protocols, analysing Earth's life forms and compiling psychological profiles of potential wielders. Azimuth had designed it to be more than a tool. It was a teacher, one that would challenge its users' morality as much as their combat skills. Vilgax's rage became a gravitational force unto itself, warping the criminal underworld around his singular obsession. The warlord's defeat at Azimuth's hands had been humiliating enough, but losing the Omnitrix, the key to universal domination, drove him to new extremes. His bounty transmissions crackled across smuggler channels, offering entire planets' worth of wealth for information about the device. This attracted mercenaries like 66 and Krab, though their early searches proved fruitless. Vilgax didn't yet realise the irony that the Omnitrix lay hidden on the same planet that would later produce his greatest nemesis, a cocky 10-year-old human named Ben Tennyson. For now, the Conqueror focused his efforts on the galactic core worlds, tearing apart research facilities in the Andromeda Galaxy, where he suspected Azimuth might have collaborators. Back on Galvan Prime, whispers about the Omnitrix's true fate circulated only among Azimuth's most trusted associates. One colleague in particular watched the First Thinkers movements with unhealthy interest. Albedo, a fellow Galvan scientist whose brilliance was matched only by his envy. Where Azimuth saw the omnitrix as a means of fostering understanding between species, Albedo fixated on its technological supremacy. Security logs from this era show repeated unauthorized accesses to Azimuth's private servers, always traced back to dummy terminals that forensic analysis would later link to Albedo's lab. His early attempts to reverse engineer the Omnitrix yielded pathetic imitations, glorified DNA scramblers that destabilized after 3 transformations. The fundamental flaw, as Azimuth would later explain during Albedo's tribunal, was that his protégé had copied the mechanics without understanding the ethics. A true Omnitrix required its user to value all life forms equally, a lesson Albedo's arrogance prevented him from grasping. The Plumber's Intelligence Division first caught wind of the Omnitrix through intercepted transmissions between Vilgax's fleets. Field operatives like Magister Patellidae were briefed about a galvanic hyperweapon that had gone missing, though High Command withheld Azimuth's involvement to prevent leaks. This created a bureaucratic nightmare. Plumber patrols increased near Galvan space, yet their own regulations forbade searching Azimuth's facilities without concrete evidence. Young cadets like Max Tennyson, decades before he'd become Ben's grandfather, heard only vague rumours about some top-secret artefact. The Plumber's inability to locate the Omnitrix wasn't just due to Azimuth's clever hiding spot on Earth, it was their own institutional blindness. They expected a weapon of mass destruction to be housed in some high-security vault, not camouflaged inside what would eventually look like an ordinary Earthwatch discovered at a roadside tourist trap. Azimuth's occasional visits to Earth weren't mere check-ins, they were calculated adjustments to the planet's cultural development. Historical records show unexplained surges in certain technologies during this period, always just enough to nudge humanity toward being ready for first contact. The Omnitrix's hiding place, in what would become Bellwood, California, wasn't random. Azimuth had identified the region's unique electromagnetic signature as perfect for masking the device's energy emissions. He also seeded subtle clues in human mythology, ensuring that when the time came, certain legends about shape-changing heroes would prime a worthy user's subconscious. The Omnitrix core assisted by running probability simulations on local children's behavioural patterns, though even its advanced algorithms couldn't predict the chaotic variable that would be Ben Tennyson's personality. Vilgax's alliances during this era reveal much about his deteriorating mental state. Where he once conquered civilization single-handedly, he now relied on expendable underlings like the Vulpimancer bounty hunter Cola and the Tetramand gladiator Luma, though the latter would eventually turn against him. His partnership with the Techadon weaponsmiths produced specialized Omnitrix detection gear, including the infamous null void projectors later used by 6-6. Yet every lead collapsed. The more desperately Vilgax searched, the more Azimuth safeguards activated. False signals were leaked to rival warlords, sending them on wild chases to decoy coordinates. The Plumbers, meanwhile, found themselves chasing ghosts as Vilgax's misinformation campaigns turned their attention toward harmless trading outposts. Albedo's descent into obsession took a dramatic turn when he attempted to splice his own DNA with Azimuth's, hoping to trigger the Omnitrix's biometric locks. The resulting transformation left him permanently trapped in a warped version of Azimuth's form, a cruel irony given his desire to surpass the First Thinker. Galvan medical reports from this incident reveal disturbing details. Albedo had constructed an entire secret lab beneath Galvan Prime's oceans, complete with kidnapped test subjects from 17 species. His crowning achievement, the ultimate tricks, represented everything Azimuth despised about weaponized science. It forced evolutionary leaps through simulated battle conditions, creating what Albedo called perfect warriors. The device's instability became apparent when its test subject, a cerebrocrustacean, underwent catastrophic cellular collapse after just 6 hours. Azimuth, upon discovering this abomination, had Albedo exiled rather than imprisoned, knowing the disgraced scientist would continue providing an excellent distraction for Vilgax's forces. Earth during these decades was anything but idle. The Omnitrix's presence created subtle ripples in human development, unexplained energy spikes that UFO conspiracy theorists would later call the Bellwood anomalies. Azimuth took particular interest in a young Max Tennyson's military career, recognizing the future plumber's inherent sense of justice. Some historians argue that Max's eventual assignment to the Null Void Border Patrol wasn't coincidence, but part of Azimuth's long-term preparations. Meanwhile, the Omnitrix Corps refined its selection protocols, analyzing millions of potential activation scenarios. It rejected candidates who sought power for conquest, instead favouring those whose first instinct was protection, even if that meant choosing an impulsive child who'd rather show off than strategize. The final piece of Azimuth's plan fell into place when he programmed the Omnitrix's hero training protocols. These weren't just combat simulations, they were morality tests disguised as technical malfunctions. The random alien shuffle function, often mistaken for a glitch by Ben Tennyson, actually served to prevent favoritism among species. The infamous self-destruct countdown sequence was really an empathy evaluation. Only someone willing to sacrifice the Omnitrix to save others would pass. Even the Watcher's tendency to time out at dramatic moments was designed to teach resourcefulness under pressure. Every so-called quirk Ben would later complain about had been meticulously crafted by Azimuth to forge not just a warrior, but a hero. By the time summer vacation rolled around for a certain 10-year-old in 21st century Earth, all the players were in position. Vilgax's forces had combed every quadrant except the one they considered too primitive to matter. Albedo's rogue experiments had drawn Plummer attention away from Sol system. The Omnitrix Corps had completed its final psychological evaluations, though even it couldn't have predicted how perfectly imperfect Ben Tennyson would be. And hovering in high orbit aboard a cloaked ship, Azimuth watched as the stasis field around the Omnitrix finally deactivated, right in the path of a rust bucket RV carrying the boy who would change the galaxy forever. The decades-long waiting game was over. Now came the interesting part. The year was 2005, and for 10-year-old Ben Tennyson, it was supposed to be just another summer vacation. Alongside his cousin Gwen and their grandpa Max, Ben embarked on a cross-country road trip in the Rust Bucket, Max's iconic RV. Little did they know, this summer would mark the beginning of a journey that would change their lives forever. The catalyst for this transformation came in the form of a mysterious object from the stars. During a stop in the woods, Ben stumbled upon a crashed alien pod. Inside was the Omnitrix, a device of extraterrestrial origin that would soon become both his greatest tool and his heaviest burden. Its discovery was no accident, though Ben wouldn't fully understand its significance until much later. The Omnitrix, a sleek wrist-mounted device adorned with a green hourglass symbol, was far from ordinary. Created by Azimuth, the galaxy's greatest inventor, it was designed to allow its user to transform into various alien species, each with unique abilities. Ben, curious and impulsive, accidentally activated the device, triggering his first transformation into Heat Blast, a fiery alien capable of manipulating flames. This moment was both exhilarating and terrifying for Ben, who had no idea what was happening. The sudden surge of power and the unfamiliar sensation of being in an alien body left him disoriented, but it also awakened a sense of wonder and possibility. Heat Blast's debut was a chaotic one, as Ben struggled to control his new abilities, inadvertently setting a nearby tree ablaze. This marked the beginning of Ben's journey to master the Omnitrix and its transformations. Not long after his first encounter with the Omnitrix, Ben faced his first real test as a hero. While exploring the forest, he encountered Wildmutt, a feral dog-like alien with heightened senses and incredible agility. Initially, Ben mistook Wildmutt for a threat, unaware that it was one of the Omnitrix's available forms. The two clashed in a tense battle, with Ben eventually using the Omnitrix to transform into Wildmutt himself. This marked his first deliberate use of the device in combat, showcasing his quick thinking and adaptability. The experience taught Ben that the Omnitrix was more than just a gadget, it was a weapon and a responsibility. Wildmutt's instincts and physical prowess gave Ben a taste of the power at his fingertips, but it also highlighted the challenges of controlling such abilities. As Ben, Gwen and Max continued their road trip, they soon crossed paths with the Forever Knights, a secretive organization obsessed with alien technology. The Forever Knights, led by the enigmatic Sir Morton, viewed extraterrestrial beings as a threat to humanity and sought to harness their power for their own purposes. Their first encounter with Ben was marked by suspicion and hostility, as they saw the Omnitrix as a dangerous artifact. This confrontation introduced Ben to the broader implications of his newfound abilities. The Forever Knight's obsession with alien technology would become a recurring theme throughout Ben's adventures, forcing him to confront not only external threats, but also the ethical dilemmas surrounding the use of alien power. One of Ben's earliest and most memorable adversaries was Dr. Animo, a mad scientist with a penchant for experimenting with alien DNA. Animo's twisted experiments involved mutating animals into monstrous hybrids, which he used to wreak havoc and further his own agenda. Their first encounter occurred in a small town where Animo had unleashed a giant, mutated cockroach. Ben, still learning the ropes of the Omnitrix, transformed into Heat Blast to combat the creature. This battle showcased Ben's growing confidence and his willingness to step up as a hero, even when faced with overwhelming odds. Animo's schemes would continue to plague Ben throughout the series, serving as a reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the misuse of alien technology. During a later confrontation with the Forever Knights, Ben unlocked one of his most iconic alien forms, Four Arms. This hulking, four-armed alien possessed immense strength and durability, making him a formidable opponent in combat. The transformation occurred during a heated battle with the Knights, who had ambushed Ben and his family. Four Arms' debut was a turning point for Ben, as it demonstrated the Omnitrix's potential to provide him with the tools needed to face increasingly powerful foes. The Knights' relentless pursuit of the Omnitrix also underscored the device's significance, hinting at the larger forces at play in the universe. As Ben's adventures continued, he encountered Kevin Levin, a troubled teenager with the ability to absorb energy. Kevin initially appeared as a potential ally, bonding with Ben over their shared experiences with alien technology. However, Kevin's powers came with a dark side. Prolonged exposure to energy caused him to mutate into a monstrous form. This transformation turned him into one of Ben's most dangerous adversaries. Their first clash ended in a brutal confrontation, with Ben narrowly escaping Kevin's wrath. Kevin's descent into villainy was a sobering reminder of the risks associated with wielding alien power, and his complex relationship with Ben would evolve over time, oscillating between rivalry and reluctant camaraderie. One of the most significant revelations of Ben's early adventures was the discovery of Grandpa Max's secret past. Max, who had always presented himself as a retired mechanic, was revealed to be a former member of the Plumbers, an intergalactic peacekeeping organization dedicated to protecting the galaxy from extraterrestrial threats. This revelation added a new layer of depth to Max's character, explaining his extensive knowledge of alien technology and his calm demeanor in the face of danger. It also provided context for Ben's journey, as it became clear that the Omnitrix's arrival on Earth was part of a larger cosmic narrative. Max's guidance and wisdom would prove invaluable to Ben as he navigated the challenges of being a hero. Ben's encounter with XLR-8, a speedster alien capable of moving at incredible velocities, came during a mission to apprehend a rogue alien criminal. XLR-8's agility and speed allowed Ben to outmaneuver his opponent, showcasing the Omnitrix's versatility in different situations. This transformation highlighted Ben's growing mastery of the device, as he began to understand how to match the right alien form to the task at hand. The chase also underscored the ongoing presence of alien threats on Earth, reinforcing the need for Ben's role as a protector. The stakes were raised significantly when Ben faced Vilgax, a warlord from another planet who sought to reclaim the Omnitrix for himself. Vilgax's first appearance was marked by sheer intimidation. His towering, armoured figure and ruthless demeanour made him one of Ben's most formidable foes. The battle between Ben and Vilgax was a clash of wills, with Ben's resourcefulness pitted against Vilgax's raw power. Despite being outmatched, Ben managed to hold his own, using the Omnitrix's various transformations to keep Vilgax at bay. This encounter solidified Vilgax's status as Ben's arch-nemesis and set the stage for their ongoing rivalry. One of the most unsettling moments in Ben's early adventures came when he unlocked Ghost Freak, an alien with the ability to become intangible and invisible. While Ghost Freak's powers proved useful in certain situations, the transformation took a dark turn when it was revealed that Ghost Freak was sentient and harboured malevolent intentions. This revelation was a stark reminder of the Omnitrix's complexity and the potential dangers of its alien forms. Ghost Freak's escape from the Omnitrix marked a turning point, as Ben realised that not all the device's transformations could be trusted. This incident added a layer of tension to Ben's use of the Omnitrix, forcing him to be more cautious and aware of the risks involved. The events of that summer vacation in 2005 laid the foundation for Ben's journey as a hero. From his first transformation into Heat Blast to his confrontation with Vilgax, each experience shaped his understanding of the Omnitrix and his role in protecting Earth from extraterrestrial threats. The challenges he faced, whether from villains like Dr. Animo and Kevin Levin, or organizations like the Forever Knights, tested his resolve and pushed him to grow as a hero. Grandpa Max's guidance and Gwen's support were crucial in helping Ben navigate these trials, highlighting the importance of family in his journey. As the summer drew to a close, Ben's adventures were far from over, but he had already proven himself capable of rising to the occasion. The Omnitrix was more than just a device. It was a symbol of Ben's potential and his commitment to using his powers for good. The entire Ben 10 Timeline Explained, Part 2 of 2 original series. Ghost Freak's rebellion marked a turning point in Ben Tennyson's summer. The Ectoneurite, one of the Omnitrix's original 10 alien forms, had secretly retained its consciousness within the Watch, biding its time before breaking free. Unlike other transformations, Ghost Freak's sentience allowed it to manipulate its own DNA sample, slipping out of the Omnitrix's containment. Its goal was simple: possess Ben's body and unleash its predatory instincts on Earth. The confrontation reached its peak in the small town of Mercy, where Ghost Freak, now fully corporeal, revealed its true form: a skeletal, tentacled horror with mind-controlling abilities. Ben, forced to fight an alien he'd once transformed into, barely escaped by exploiting Ghost Freak's vulnerability to sunlight, temporarily driving it off. But the encounter left a lasting scar. Ben would never use Ghost Freak's form again, unaware the creature still lurked in the shadows. The Omnitrix, however, had more surprises in store. During a skirmish with a rogue bounty hunter named Crab, a crustacean-like mercenary working for Vilgax, Ben unlocked Cannon Bolt. The Arburian Pelorota, a spherical armoured alien, debuted in a high-speed chase through a desert highway. Crab, armed with cybernetic enhancements and a relentless pursuit protocol, seemed unstoppable, until Ben curled into a living wrecking ball, ploughing through obstacles and finally sending Crab flying into the horizon. Cannon Bolt's near indestructible shell and rolling momentum quickly became one of Ben's most reliable tools, especially against heavier opponents. Not all threats were extraterrestrial. Dr. Animo, the deranged biologist with a penchant for genetic chaos, resurfaced with his latest creations, the circus freaks. These mutated humans, fused with animal DNA, terrorized a traveling carnival. Animo's goal wasn't just destruction, but proving his superiority over the Omnitrix's sterile alien templates. Ben, forced to navigate a hall of mirrors against the clawed, acrobatic freaks, eventually outmaneuvered them by turning their own environment against them. The battle underscored a recurring theme of Ben's journey: humanity's capacity for monstrosity, even without alien tech. The Omnitrix's adaptability shone again when Ben encountered a runaway Florana, a sentient plant species from the planet Flors Verdance. The creature, harmless but uncontrollably growing, threatened to overrun a botanical garden. In the chaos, Ben unlocked Wildvine, a plant-based alien with vine-like limbs, photosynthesis-based regeneration, and seed-based projectiles. Wildvine's symbiotic connection to plant life allowed Ben to communicate with the Florana, calming it down and relocating it safely. The moment was a rare win without violence, highlighting Ben's growing maturity in handling the Omnitrix's power. Then came Kevin Levin, the unstable energy absorber. Last seen fleeing after his first defeat, returned with a vengeance. This time, Kevin's obsession with the Omnitrix drove him to attempt stealing its power directly. When Ben activated the Watch mid-fight, Kevin absorbed not just one alien's energy, but the entire Omnitrix matrix. The result was catastrophic. Kevin mutated into a hulking, chimeric monster, his body fusing traits of Heat Blast, Forearms, Diamond Head, and more. The battle that followed was one of the most brutal of Ben's summer, leveling a construction site as Kevin's rampaging form grew more erratic. Ben, realizing Kevin was being consumed by the energy, used Upgrade's technopathic abilities to hack into Kevin's unstable physiology, forcibly purging the Omnitrix's energy and reverting Kevin to human form. The victory was bittersweet. Kevin was hospitalized, his fate uncertain, but Ben had refused to let him die. Upgrade's debut proved pivotal again, when a rogue mechamorph, a species of techno-organic beings, went berserk in a high-tech facility. The mechamorph, designed as a repair drone, had malfunctioned and begun assimilating machinery into a weaponized form. Ben's transformation into Upgrade, a sleek Mercury-like entity capable of merging with and enhancing any technology, allowed him to interface with the drone, reprogramming it to shut down. The encounter solidified Upgrade as Ben's go-to for tech-based threats, a stark contrast to the brute force approach of aliens like Forearms. Magic entered the equation when Ben crossed paths with Hex, a sorcerer from the dimension of Legerdemain, and his niece Charmcaster. The duo sought the charms of Basil, ancient artifacts with reality-warping powers. Their first clash occurred in a museum, where Hex animated stone gargoyles to attack, forcing Ben to think beyond physical strength. Though outmatched by Hex's spells, Ben's quick thinking, using Stinkfly's goo to trap the sorcerer, secured a temporary victory. Charmcaster, however, escaped, foreshadowing a longer feud. The encounter introduced Ben to the wider supernatural underbelly of his world, a realm where the Omnitrix's aliens weren't always the ultimate power. Vilgax's shadow loomed larger as summer waned. The warlord, having recovered from his earlier defeat, sent a squad of Sotaragian mercenaries to capture Ben. In the ensuing battle, Ben unlocked Diamond Head, a crystalline warrior from the planet Petropia. The transformation was a fluke. The Omnitrix's dial landed on the wrong alien, but Diamond Head's durability and ability to refract energy beams turned the tide. The fight also revealed Vilgax's new strategy, overwhelming Ben with numbers, testing his limits before striking himself. The final confrontation came in Bellwood, where Vilgax, now armed with a fleet of warships, demanded the Omnitrix. Ben's family, Max, Gwen, even his parents, were caught in the crossfire. Vilgax's forces laid siege to the city, forcing Ben into a desperate last stand. Cornered, Ben activated the Omnitrix's self-destruct sequence, bluffing Vilgax into retreating to save his own life. The gambit worked. The Omnitrix survived, Vilgax's fleet withdrew, and Earth was spared. The battle cemented Ben's resolve. No longer just a kid with a cool gadget, he'd embraced his role as a hero. As the Tennyson's road trip ended, Ben made his choice. He'd keep the Omnitrix. The summer had tested him in ways he couldn't have imagined. Betrayal by his own alien, battles with mutated humans, the weight of Kevin's downfall, and the ever-present threat of Vilgax. But with Grandpa Max's guidance and Gwen's support, Ben stepped into a larger world, ready for whatever came next. The original series era closed not with an ending, but the promise of more adventures, a promise the universe would soon fulfill. 5 years after his summer road trip adventures, the universe called upon Ben Tennyson once more. In 2010, now a 15-year-old with a more serious demeanour, Ben reactivated the Omnitrix after receiving a dire warning from his grandfather Max about an impending alien invasion. The threat came from the Hybrid, a genetically pure but dying race who viewed all other species as inferior. Their solution? A campaign of universal purification through mass extermination. This wasn't just another villain of the week scenario, this was an existential crisis that would push Ben, his cousin Gwen, and a reformed Kevin Levin to form a new team operating from Max's underground base, a far cry from the Rust Bucket's carefree camping days. Gwen Tennyson had undergone her own transformation during those 5 years. No longer just the bookish cousin with a knack for tech, she'd embraced her anodite heritage, developing formidable magic abilities that made her one of Earth's most powerful sorceresses. Her pink energy constructs and mana-based spells became instrumental in their battles, though she still maintained that trademark Tennyson stubbornness. The bigger surprise came in the form of Kevin Levin, Ben's former enemy turned ally. After years struggling with his mutation, Kevin had gained near-perfect control over his matter absorption powers, channeling them to reconstruct any material he touched, a far cry from the unstable freak who'd terrorized them years prior. Their dynamic had shifted from bitter rivals to something resembling friendship, though Kevin's dark past would continue casting shadows. Their first major mission together involved investigating a hybrid scout ship near Bellwood, where Ben encountered Julie Yamamoto, his childhood crush from the original summer adventures. Now a tennis star with sharp reflexes and even sharper wit, Julie quickly proved herself capable in the field, dodging alien tech with athletic grace. Her reintroduction marked a turning point in Ben's personal life. What began as awkward teenage flirting would gradually develop into a genuine relationship, with Julie becoming both romantic partner and trusted ally. Their chemistry was palpable, whether battling aliens or dealing with the absurdity of Ben's double life as Earth's protector. The team's early encounters with the Hybrid revealed their disturbing ideology. These towering white humanoids considered themselves the pinnacle of genetic purity, their bodies engineered to perfection. But this came at a terrible cost. Their obsession with purity had rendered them sterile, their race dying out. Rather than seeking solutions, the hybrid leadership chose genocide, believing that eliminating impure species would somehow restore their own vitality. Their ships scoured the galaxy, deploying DNA aliens, genetically altered slaves created from captured species, to infiltrate and weaken planets before full-scale invasion. Earth became a primary target due to its strategic position and the presence of the Omnitrix, which the hybrids saw as an abomination of mixed DNA. During a critical mission to stop a hybrid DNA bomb from wiping out Earth's population, Ben finally met Asmuth, the reclusive Galvan scientist who'd created the Omnitrix. This first contact shattered Ben's assumptions about the device's purpose. Asmuth, a diminutive but brilliant frog-like alien, revealed the Omnitrix was never intended as a weapon. It was designed to promote understanding between species by allowing users to experience life as different aliens. This philosophical foundation had been lost over time, with most, including Ben, treating it as a combat tool. Their conversation aboard Asmuth's hidden lab ship marked a turning point in Ben's relationship with the device, though his tendency toward flashy heroics would continue clashing with Asmuth's ideals. Asmuth's solution to the escalating hybrid threat came in the form of an upgrade, the Ultimatrix. Unlike the original Omnitrix, which simply provided access to alien forms, this new version contained an evolutionary function. By simulating millions of years of battlefield conditions in microseconds, it could generate ultimate versions of Ben's aliens, hyper-specialized war forms with enhanced abilities. The trade-off was a more aggressive interface, where the Omnitrix sometimes felt like a partner. The Ultimatrix behaved like a temperamental tool, its glitches and quirks reflecting Asmuth's frustration with Ben's immaturity. Still, the power boost proved invaluable against the hybrid, with forms like Ultimate Swamp Fire, whose combustion abilities reached napalm-level intensity, and Ultimate Humungosaur, now sporting dorsal cannons and reinforced armor, turning the tide in several battles. Their fight against the hybrid also brought them into contact with the Plumbers, an intergalactic peacekeeping force that Max Tennyson had secretly been part of for decades. With the invasion threat, Earth's plumber contingent emerged from hiding, revealing a vast network of alien technology and operatives hidden in plain sight. New allies joined the cause, including Alan Albright, a teenage Pyronite hybrid who struggled with controlling his fire-based powers, a parallel to Kevin's own past struggles. The Plumbers provided critical support, from intelligence on hybrid movements to access to their orbital defense systems, though their bureaucratic nature occasionally clashed with Ben's improvisational style. Kevin's integration into the team wasn't without friction. His history as a criminal and former associate of the Forever Knights, a secret society obsessed with eliminating aliens, created tension, particularly with plumber operatives who remembered his past misdeeds. This came to a head when a mission required accessing old underworld contacts, forcing Kevin to confront parts of his life he'd rather forget. His loyalty was tested when a hybrid ambush left Ben and Gwen vulnerable. Kevin's decision to risk his life, shielding them from a DNA bomb, proved his reformation wasn't just superficial. This moment solidified their trust, though the scars of his past would continue resurfacing in unexpected ways. Magical threats persisted alongside the alien invasion, with Gwen's growing powers attracting attention from other dimensions. The sorcerer Hex and his niece Charmcaster returned, seeking powerful magical artifacts, like the Alpha Rune and the charms of Bezel. These encounters showcased Gwen's development as a magic user, her spells now rivaling those of seasoned sorcerers. The conflict took on personal stakes when Charmcaster briefly trapped Gwen in Legerdemain, the dimension where mana originates, forcing Ben and Kevin to navigate surreal magical landscapes to rescue her. These parallel battles highlighted how the team's responsibilities had expanded. They weren't just fighting aliens anymore, but safeguarding Earth from multi-dimensional threats. As the team pieced together the hybrids' plans, they discovered the invasion was being orchestrated by the Hybrid Supreme, their fanatical leader operating from their homeworld. This revelation came at a cost. Several plumber agents were captured during reconnaissance missions, their fates serving as a grim reminder of hybrid brutality. The Supreme's ideology was uncompromising. Where some hybrids showed doubts about their genocidal mission, the Supreme viewed any hesitation as weakness. His command center was a massive warship equipped with planet-destroying weaponry, the final piece in their campaign to cleanse the galaxy. Stopping him would require pushing the Ultimatrix's capabilities to their limits and forging unlikely alliances across species lines, a challenge that would test whether Ben had truly grown beyond his reckless younger self. Word count to 1764. 5 years after his initial adventures, Ben Tennyson's infiltration of the hybrid homeworld revealed a shocking truth. Their genetic degradation wasn't natural, but self-inflicted. The fanatical purity ideology of the Hybrid Supreme had driven them to systematically eliminate any perceived imperfections in their DNA, dooming their entire species to sterility and decay. This revelation came as Ben's team, now operating under the reformed Plumbers organization, fought through the alien warships of the Hybrid Armada, their mission taking them to the stark, crystalline structures of the hybrid capital world. Azimuth, the reclusive Galvan creator of the Omnitrix, emerged from isolation to deliver critical information. The device Ben had worn since age 10 wasn't just a weapon, but contained the genetic solution to the hybrid crisis. Within its database lay the uncorrupted DNA strands that could reverse their self-destructive path. The confrontation with the Hybrid Supreme became a turning point, not just for the war, but for Ben's understanding of the Omnitrix's purpose. As the towering alien leader prepared to destroy Earth rather than accept genetic impurity, Ben made the pivotal decision to use the watch not as a tool of combat, but of healing. Transforming into the energy-based alien chromostone, he channeled the Omnitrix's power to repair the Supreme's damaged DNA, demonstrating the device's true potential as a bridge between species. This act of compassion, rather than violence, shocked the hybrid hierarchy. Their rigid worldview, shattered by the inferior human, proving the value of genetic diversity. The subsequent surrender of their forces marked the end of the galactic-scale conflict, with Ben's reputation spreading across the cosmos as the teenager who ended the hybrid war through understanding rather than brute force. With the immediate threat neutralized, new challenges emerged from the aftermath. The remnants of the hybrids' forces on Earth, particularly their hybrid DNA aliens, humans mutated through forced genetic splicing, continued operating in scattered cells, believing their master's ideology even after the surrender. These encounters tested Ben's resolve, as he now fought former humans who couldn't or wouldn't accept their freedom. Meanwhile, the power vacuum left by the hybrids' withdrawal attracted opportunistic criminals like Vulcanus, a disgraced plumber turned intergalactic arms dealer. The team's confrontation with the hulking alien at his asteroid weapons depot showcased their growing coordination, with Gwen's mana constructs and Kevin's energy absorption, working in tandem with Ben's expanding alien roster to counter Vulcanus' stolen tech arsenal. Gwen's own journey took a dramatic turn during this period as she began manifesting abilities beyond standard magic. Strange energy surges during battles led to the revelation of her anodite heritage, explaining why her spells often manifested as pink energy rather than traditional incantations. Her grandmother Verdona, a full-blooded Anodite energy being, arrived to guide Gwen's training, though their reunion wasn't without friction. Verdona's cavalier attitude toward human attachments clashed with Gwen's value system, particularly when the elder Anodite suggested abandoning her human form entirely. This conflict forced Gwen to define her own path, neither rejecting her alien ancestry nor fully embracing the Anodite detachment from physical existence. Her mastery of mana reached new heights as she learned to channel pure energy without spell circles, though she consciously retained human traits like her signature pink colour scheme rather than adopting Verdona's preferred blue energy form. Kevin Levin's arc during this period mirrored Gwen's in its exploration of legacy, though with far darker undertones. His Osmosian abilities, previously thought to be simple matter absorption, began manifesting in disturbing ways during high-stress situations. Brief flashes of his mutated past resurfaced, particularly during a brutal fight against a rogue DNA alien cell, where he temporarily absorbed too much unstable energy. The incident left Kevin shaken, fearing he might regress into the feral, amalgamated state Ben had fought years prior. His relationship with Gwen became both an anchor and a source of tension, as he increasingly withdrew to avoid potentially harming her during episodes of instability. This self-imposed isolation nearly cost him his place on the team during the Forever Knights incident, when he hesitated to engage for fear of losing control. The Forever Knights organization re-emerged during this era with a new public face, no longer medieval-themed fanatics, but a sleek paramilitary group claiming to protect humanity from alien influences. Under the leadership of the enigmatic Sir Morton, they exploited post-invasion tensions to recruit disillusioned humans, their rhetoric echoing the hybrid's purity ideology in subtler terms. Their true agenda involved harvesting alien technology from crash sites, including attempts to reverse engineer the Omnitrix itself. One particularly dangerous operation saw them unearth remnants of the Dagon Arcana, ancient weapons tied to the extra-dimensional entity Ben would later face in Ultimate Alien. The Knights' obsession with control versus Ben's philosophy of coexistence framed many conflicts during this period, culminating in their assault on Plummer headquarters, where they attempted to seize the alien detainee database. Ben's personal life saw both growth and strain as his relationship with Julie Yamamoto deepened amidst constant hero work. Their dates, frequently interrupted by alien emergencies, became a running gag with underlying seriousness, particularly when Julie was nearly assimilated by a DNA aliens hive during what was supposed to be a simple tennis match. Ben's attempts to balance normalcy with his responsibilities as Earth's de facto protector led to creative solutions, like using echo-echo duplicates to be in two places at once, though these often backfired in humorous yet telling ways. The pressure intensified when Julie was accepted into a prestigious tennis academy, forcing Ben to confront whether he could maintain a long-distance relationship amid galactic-scale threats. The team's dynamic evolved significantly during this period as they transitioned from reactive heroes to established protectors. The newly reformed Plumbers organization, now operating openly, with Earth government approval, provided resources and intelligence, though Ben often chafed at their bureaucratic protocols. His working relationship with Magister Patelide, the gruff but fair-headed plumber commander, exemplified this tension. While respecting each other's competence, they frequently disagreed on methodology, particularly regarding the treatment of captured aliens. These philosophical differences came to a head during the Detravite incident, where Ben advocated for rehabilitating the warlike species rather than imprisoning them indefinitely, setting a precedent for his future leadership approach. As the era progressed, Ben's mastery of the Omnitrix reached new levels, though not without setbacks. The recalibrated device granted access to powerful new aliens, like the time-manipulating clockwork, and gravity-defying jet ray, but also presented challenges like the unintended fusion of swamp fire and Big Chill's traits during a malfunction. These experiences, combined with Azimuth's occasional cryptic advice, helped Ben understand the watch wasn't merely a weapon, but a responsibility. Each transformation represented an entire species' legacy. This realization crystallized during the confrontation with Siphon, a former Vilgax lieutenant seeking to exploit the Omnitrix's power. Where once Ben might have simply fought, he now attempted diplomacy, appealing to Siphon's buried honor as a warrior rather than escalating hostilities. Though unsuccessful in that instance, it demonstrated how far the once impulsive boy had come in his understanding of power's nuances. The era's closing events foreshadowed challenges to come. Mysterious energy signatures detected at the edge of the galaxy hinted at the approaching aggregor crisis that would dominate the ultimate alien era. Kevin's worsening instability pointed towards his eventual breakdown and temporary return to villainy. Gwen's anodite abilities, while more controlled, began attracting attention from other energy beings across the universe. Most significantly, Ben's public unmasking during a televised battle marked the end of his secret identity, thrusting him fully into the role of Earth's official protector. Standing before the newly completed Plumbers Academy with his team, surveying a world that now openly acknowledged alien existence, the once carefree boy who stumbled upon the Omnitrix 5 years prior had fully embraced his destiny as the universe's most unlikely peacekeeper, though as the strange lights in the night sky reminded viewers, peace in the Ben 10 universe was always relative. The year is 2011, and the world of Ben Tennyson has shifted dramatically. No longer a secretive hero operating in the shadows, Ben's identity as the wielder of the Omnitrix is now public knowledge. This revelation, broadcast across the globe, transforms Ben into a celebrity overnight, thrusting him into a new era of challenges and responsibilities. The Omnitrix, a device capable of transforming its user into any of millions of alien species, has always been a source of power and peril, but now its existence, and Ben's role as its bearer, is common knowledge. This marks the beginning of Ben 10, Ultimate Alien, a chapter in the saga where fame becomes both a weapon and a burden. Returning to Earth after their adventures in space during Ben 10, Alien Force, Ben, Gwen and Kevin find themselves navigating a world that sees Ben not just as a hero, but as a phenomenon. Crowds gather wherever he goes, and his every move is scrutinized. This newfound fame brings with it a host of complications, including enemies who now know exactly who he is and where to find him. Yet Ben's core mission remains unchanged, to protect Earth and the universe from threats both old and new. The trio's dynamic, forged through years of partnership and friendship, is tested as they face adversaries who exploit Ben's celebrity status for their own ends. One such adversary is Aggregor, a rogue Osmosian with a singular destructive goal. Osmosians are a species capable of absorbing energy and abilities from other beings, and Aggregor takes this power to its most dangerous extreme. His plan is as ambitious as it is terrifying: to capture and absorb the powers of 5 alien hybrids, beings who are the result of genetic fusion between 2 distinct species. These hybrids, bivalvan and amphibiosan Aquarian, Piandor, a Thepkufan pyronite, Rad, a Segmentosalpian electroid, Andreas, a Piscis volan Kinesileran, and Galapagos, a galvanic mechamorph Piscis volan, are scattered across the galaxy, each possessing abilities that, when combined, could make Aggregor nearly unstoppable. Aggregor's hunt for the hybrids begins in earnest, and Ben, Gwen and Kevin find themselves racing against him to protect these unique beings. The stakes are raised further when Ben unlocks a new function of the Ultimatrix, the upgraded version of the Omnitrix he now wields. This function, known as the Ultimate Transformation, allows Ben's alien forms to evolve into more powerful versions of themselves under simulated combat conditions. These ultimate forms are not just stronger, but also more aggressive, reflecting the harsh environments in which they evolve. This new capability becomes a crucial tool in Ben's arsenal as he faces increasingly formidable foes. The pursuit of Agraga takes the team across multiple planets, each presenting its own dangers and challenges. One such world is Koros, a desolate desert planet where the team encounters Pandor, the fiery Pyronite Thep-Kufan hybrid. Another is Piscis, a waterlogged world home to Andreas and Galapagos, whose aquatic abilities make them vital to Agregor's plan. These missions are fraught with tension, as Ben and his allies must not only rescue the hybrids, but also confront Agregor's growing power. Each encounter reveals more about Agregor's motivations and the horrifying scope of his ambitions. Agregor's plan reaches its climax when he successfully captures all 5 hybrids and absorbs their powers, transforming into a being of unimaginable strength. Now calling himself Agregor Ultimate, he becomes a nearly unstoppable force, his newfound abilities making him a threat not just to Ben, but to the entire universe. His ultimate goal, however, is even more catastrophic. He seeks to harness the power of the Forge of Creation, a dimension where celestial sapiens, the most powerful beings in existence, are born. Within the Forge lies an unborn celestial sapien, a being whose power Agregor intends to absorb to achieve godlike status. The Forge of Creation is a place of immense cosmic significance, a realm where reality itself is shaped by the will of celestial sapiens. Entering this dimension is no small feat, but Ben, Gwen, and Kevin have no choice. They must stop Agregor before he can claim the power of the unborn celestial sapien, a task that will push them to their limits. Within the Forge, Ben encounters Alien X, one of his most enigmatic and powerful transformations. Alien X is a celestial sapien, a being capable of rewriting reality, but its use comes with a significant drawback. Ben must negotiate with its 2 personalities, Serena and Bellicus, who control Alien X's actions. In a pivotal moment, Ben manages to gain temporary control over Alien X, using its reality warping abilities to confront Agregor. The battle that ensues is one of the most intense in Ben's career, as Alien X's power clashes with Agregor Ultimate's stolen abilities. Ultimately, Ben uses Alien X to revert Agregor to his original form, stripping him of the hybrid's powers and neutralizing the threat he posed. This victory, however, comes at a cost. The Forge of Creation is a place of immense power, and the events that transpire there have far-reaching consequences. With Agregor defeated, Ben, Gwen, and Kevin return to Earth, but their respite is short-lived. The events of Ben 10, the Ultimate Alien, have drawn the attention of new adversaries, including the Esoterica, a secretive group of powerful beings with their own agendas. Among them are Sunder, a being capable of manipulating souls, Darkstar, a former plumber with a deep-seated grudge against Ben, and Charmcaster, a sorceress whose mastery of magic makes her a formidable foe. These antagonists represent a new kind of threat, one that will test Ben's abilities and resolve in ways he has never experienced before. The year 2011 marks a turning point in Ben's journey, a time when his role as a hero is redefined by the world's awareness of his identity. The challenges he faces in Ben 10 Ultimate Alien are not just physical, but also psychological, as he grapples with the weight of his fame and the responsibilities it brings. Yet through it all, Ben remains steadfast in his commitment to protecting the universe, relying on the support of Gwen and Kevin to navigate the complexities of his new reality. This era is a testament to Ben's growth as a hero, showcasing his ability to adapt and overcome even the most daunting of challenges. As 2011 progressed, Ben Tennyson's journey took a darker turn with the emergence of Sunda, a member of the enigmatic Esoterica. Sunda wielded the Alpha Rune, a powerful artifact capable of stealing memories. Targeting Ben, Sunda siphoned away his recollections of past adventures, leaving him disoriented and vulnerable. To recover his lost memories, Ben was forced to relive pivotal moments from his life, including his earliest encounters with the Omnitrix and his battles against foes like Vilgax and Zeskaya. This introspective journey not only restored his memories, but also reaffirmed Ben's resolve to protect the universe, highlighting the weight of his experiences as Earth's greatest hero. Around the same time, the Forever Knights, a secretive and militaristic organization, resurfaced with a dangerous agenda. Led by Sir Morton, the Knights sought to harness the power of Dagon, an extra-dimensional entity of immense destructive potential. They uncovered ancient relics tied to Dagon, believing these artifacts would grant them unparalleled power. Their efforts drew the attention of Darkstar, a former plumber trainee turned rogue, who saw an opportunity to elevate himself to godhood. Darkstar infiltrated the Forever Knights, manipulating them to gain access to Dagon's power. His ambition set the stage for one of Ben's most harrowing battles yet. Darkstar's transformation began when he merged with the Dagon artifacts, becoming a monstrous entity imbued with otherworldly energy. His newfound power threatened to unravel reality itself, prompting Ben, Gwen, and Kevin to unite against him. The trio enlisted the help of the Plumbers, Earth's intergalactic peacekeeping organization, and other allies to combat the escalating threat. As Darkstar's rampage intensified, Ben realized he would need to unlock the full potential of his Omnitrix to stand a chance. In a climactic moment, he accessed Ultimate Way-Big, an evolved form of the colossal alien Way-Big, capable of harnessing cosmic energy. The battle between Ultimate Way-Big and Darkstar's Dagon-empowered form was a spectacle of titanic proportions. Gwen tapping into her full Anodite potential played a crucial role in weakening Darkstar's connection to Dagon's power. Anodites, beings of pure mana energy, possess immense magical capabilities, and Gwen's mastery of her heritage proved pivotal in the fight. With her assistance, Ben unleashed Ultimate Way-Big's Cosmic Storm attack, a devastating blast of cosmic energy that overwhelmed Darkstar and severed his link to Dagon. The defeat of Darkstar marked the end of the Dagon arc, neutralizing the extra-dimensional entity's threat and disbanding the Forever Knights, whose misguided ambitions had nearly doomed the world. With the Dagon crisis resolved, Ben's challenges were far from over. Charmcaster, a sorceress with a vendetta against Gwen, resurfaced with plans to harness the power of Legerdemain, a mystical dimension brimming with mana. Seeking revenge for past grievances, Charmcaster trapped Gwen in Legerdemain, forcing Ben and Kevin to mount a rescue mission. Legerdemain's unpredictable nature and Charmcaster's dark magic made the endeavour perilous, but the duo's determination and resourcefulness saw them through. They confronted Charmcaster in a battle of wits and power, ultimately freeing Gwen and thwarting the sorceress's plans. This encounter underscored the ever-present dangers of the magical realms and the importance of Ben's alliances in overcoming them. As 2011 drew to a close, Ben continued to protect Earth as its foremost hero, his experiences shaping him into a more seasoned and capable defender. The threats he faced grew increasingly complex, from extra-dimensional entities to rogue sorcerers, but Ben's adaptability and courage remained unwavering. The era of Ben 10, Ultimate Alien, showcased his evolution from a teenage hero to a guardian of the universe, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The lessons learned and alliances forged during this time would prove invaluable as Ben's journey continued, setting the stage for the next chapter in his extraordinary life. The Sunder incident, while brief, had lasting implications for Ben. Reliving his past adventures through the Alpha Rune's influence allowed him to reflect on his growth as a hero. From his first encounter with the Omnitrix to his battles against Vilgax, Ziziskaya, and the Hybrid, Ben's journey was marked by trials that tested his resolve and ingenuity. Sunda's theft of these memories forced Ben to confront the weight of his responsibilities, reinforcing his commitment to protecting the universe. The Alpha Rune, a relic of immense power, served as a reminder of the dangers posed by those who sought to exploit such artifacts for personal gain. Darkstar's rise to power was a culmination of his long-standing resentment toward Ben and his desire for supremacy. Once a plumber trainee, Darkstar's fall from grace was driven by his envy of Ben's heroism and the recognition he received. By aligning himself with the Forever Knights and harnessing the power of Dagon, Darkstar sought to surpass Ben and become a godlike figure. His transformation into a monstrous entity was a testament to the corrupting influence of unchecked ambition. The Forever Knights, blinded by their desire for power, became pawns in Darkstar's scheme, highlighting the dangers of fanaticism and the misuse of ancient knowledge. The Forever Knights' involvement in the Dagon arc was rooted in their belief in humanity's superiority and their desire to wield ultimate power. Sir Morton, their leader, saw Dagon as a means to elevate the Knights to global dominance. Their excavation of Dagon relics and their collaboration with Darkstar underscored their willingness to risk catastrophic consequences for their goals. The Knights' eventual disbandment following Darkstar's defeat marked the end of their misguided crusade, but the threat of similar organizations lingered, reminding Ben of the need for vigilance. Darkstar's transformation into a Dagon-empowered being was a turning point in the arc, escalating the stakes to a global level. His rampage threatened to unravel reality, forcing Ben and his allies to pull out all the stops to stop him. The introduction of Ultimate Way Big, an evolved form of Way Big, showcased the Omnitrix's adaptability and Ben's ability to rise to the occasion. Ultimate Way Big's Cosmic Storm attack, a manifestation of cosmic energy, was a fitting counter to Darkstar's otherworldly power, demonstrating Ben's capacity to harness the Omnitrix's full potential. Gwen's role in the battle against Darkstar highlighted her growth as a wielder of mana and her connection to her Anodite heritage. Anodites, beings of pure mana energy, possess immense magical capabilities, and Gwen's mastery of her powers proved crucial in weakening Darkstar's connection to Dagon. Her ability to tap into her full Anodite potential was a testament to her resilience and determination, reinforcing her importance as Ben's ally. The synergy between Ben, Gwen, and Kevin was a recurring theme throughout the arc, underscoring the strength of their bond and their ability to overcome even the most formidable foes. The Dagon arc's conclusion marked a significant victory for Ben and his allies, but it also served as a reminder of the ever-present threats to Earth's safety. The Forever Knights' disbandment and Darkstar's defeat neutralized immediate dangers, but the existence of entities like Dagon and artifacts like the Alpha Rune hinted at the potential for future crises. Ben's experiences during this time reinforced his commitment to protecting the universe, setting the stage for the challenges that lay ahead. Charmcaster's resurgence added another layer of complexity to Ben's journey, introducing the mystical dangers of legerdemain. Her vendetta against Gwen and her desire to harness legerdemain's power for personal gain made her a formidable adversary. The rescue mission to free Gwen from legerdemain tested Ben and Kevin's resourcefulness and highlighted the importance of their teamwork. Charmcaster's dark magic and Legerdemain's unpredictable nature made the endeavour perilous, but the duo's determination saw them through. The confrontation with Charmcaster underscored the ever-present dangers of the magical realms and the need for Ben to remain vigilant. As 2011 came to an end, Ben's role as Earth's protector was more vital than ever. The threats he faced during the era of Ben 10. Ultimate Alien showcased his growth as a hero and his ability to adapt to increasingly complex challenges. From battling extra-dimensional entities to confronting rogue sorcerers, Ben's journey was marked by trials that tested his resolve and ingenuity. The lessons learned and alliances forged during this time would prove invaluable as Ben's journey continued, setting the stage for the next chapter in his extraordinary life. The entire Ben 10 timeline explained. Ben 10 Omniverse Part 1 of 2. By 2012, Ben Tennyson had already saved the universe more times than most heroes do in a lifetime. But Ben 10 Omniverse marked a shift, not just in his arsenal, but in his approach. Gone were the days of solo heroics. Now, Ben found himself partnered with Rook Blanco, a disciplined rookie plumber from the planet Ravonna. Their dynamic was friction at first sight. Ben's improvisational chaos clashed with Rook's by-the-book precision, but it became the backbone of their galaxy-spanning missions. The plumbers had expanded into a full interstellar peacekeeping force, and Earth was no longer just a backwater planet, but a hub for alien activity, with Undertown, a hidden subterranean city beneath Bellwood, serving as a melting pot of species. Their first major mission together began with a seemingly routine investigation in Undertown. A mysterious alien artifact, later revealed to be a piece of malware, a rogue galvanic mechamorph, was causing disruptions in the underground community. This led Ben and Rook into a confrontation with Dr. Psychobos, a deranged cerebro-crustacean scientist, a crab-like species known for their hyperintelligence, who had allied himself with the Incursians, a warlike empire led by the ruthless Princess Atea. Psychobos's experiments were a precursor to a larger threat. His work on the Nemetrix, a device designed to counter the Omnitrix by bonding predatory aliens to a control harness. The Nemetrix fell into the hands of Kyber, a skilled alien hunter who had been tracking Ben for years. Kyber's vendetta wasn't just professional, it was personal. He saw Ben as the ultimate prey, and with the Nemetrix, he could field creatures like Terrorantula and Slamworm, natural predators to Ben's transformations. Their battles were brutal, pushing Ben to adapt in ways he hadn't since his early days with the Omnitrix. The Nemetrix wasn't just a weapon, it was a mirror, forcing Ben to confront the evolutionary balance of the aliens he wielded. Amid these skirmishes, Ben learned of the Contumelia, ancient beings who had created the Omnitrix as a tool for peace. This revelation came from Asmuth, the Galvan inventor of the device, who had grown increasingly disillusioned with Ben's reliance on it. Their relationship was strained. Asmuth saw the Omnitrix as a responsibility, while Ben treated it like a toy. That tension reached its peak when Vilgax, Ben's oldest and most persistent enemy, launched an all-out assault to claim the device. In a brutal showdown, Vilgax succeeded in destroying the Omnitrix, leaving Ben powerless in a way he hadn't been since he was 10 years old. The loss forced Ben to reckon with his identity. Without the Omnitrix, who was he? A hero, or just a kid who'd gotten lucky? This introspection didn't last long. Asmuth, despite his frustrations, recognised Ben's growth. He crafted a new Omnitrix, this time with a sleeker design and advanced features, including a more intuitive interface and a recalibrated transformation matrix. The new model wasn't just a tool, it was a partnership, reflecting Ben's maturity. But the universe had little patience for self-reflection. Ben's next discovery was the Forge of Creation, a realm where the fundamental forces of reality were shaped. It was here that Maltruant, a rogue chronosapien, a time-manipulating species, was plotting to rewrite history. Maltruant wasn't just another villain, he was a paradox, a being whose very existence threatened the stability of time itself. His goal was the creation of a chronosapien time bomb, a device capable of erasing all timelines except the one he desired. Enter Professor Paradox, the time-walking enigma who had guided Ben before. Paradox's role was cryptic but crucial. He couldn't interfere directly, but he could nudge Ben toward the right path. He revealed that Maltruant's plan required fragments of the Map of Infinity, a relic from Ben's Ultimate Alien era, now repurposed as components for the time bomb. The stakes were higher than ever. This wasn't just about saving the present, but every possible future. The final piece of the puzzle came in the form of Ben's own alternate selves. To stop Maltruant, Ben teamed up with versions of himself from other timelines, including Ben 23, a cheerful, egotistical variant from a more light-hearted universe, and Mad Ben, a ruthless counterpart from a dystopian wasteland. The convergence of these Bens wasn't just a tactical alliance, it was a testament to the sheer scope of the Omnitrix's legacy. Together, they stormed the Forge of Creation, facing Maltruant in a battle that wasn't just physical, but temporal. This was only the beginning of the Omniverse saga. The threads of time, identity, and destiny were tangling in ways Ben couldn't yet foresee. The Contumelia's purpose, the true nature of the Omnitrix, and Maltruant's endgame were all pieces of a puzzle that stretched across dimensions. And as Ben and Rook stood at the edge of the forge, staring into the fabric of creation itself, one thing was clear. The universe wasn't done testing them yet. Word count 1664. As Ben Tennyson and Rook continued their journey through the chaos of 2012, the stakes reached a critical peak with their confrontation against Maltruant, the time-manipulating chronosapien. Maltruant, a being obsessed with escaping the inevitability of entropy, had been orchestrating events across multiple timelines, each step bringing him closer to his ultimate goal, the creation of a universe-ending paradox. Ben and Rook's investigation led them to Maltruant's lair, a labyrinthine fortress hidden within the folds of time itself. Here, they uncovered the chilling truth of Maltruant's plan, the activation of the chronosapien time bomb, a device capable of erasing all timelines except one, effectively resetting existence to a single point in time. The Omnitrix, now upgraded with new functionalities, became Ben's key tool in countering Maltruant's temporal manipulations, setting the stage for a battle that would span the edges of the universe. The final confrontation took place at the edge of existence, a desolate expanse where time itself seemed to fray at the edges. Maltruant, driven by his nihilistic belief that entropy rendered all efforts futile, sought to destroy the multiverse in a bid to escape its inevitable collapse. Ben, wielding the Omnitrix's full potential, faced Maltruant in a clash that tested not only his physical abilities but also his resolve as a hero. The battle was a spectacle of time-bending chaos, with Maltruant manipulating temporal forces to destabilize Ben's transformations and disrupt the flow of reality. However, Ben's ingenuity and determination proved unmatched. Using feedback, an alien form capable of absorbing and redirecting energy, Ben neutralized Maltruant's temporal distortions, preventing the activation of the chronosapien time bomb. The device, a looming threat to all timelines, was rendered inert, and Maltruant's plan collapsed under the weight of its own ambition. With Maltruant defeated, Ben and Rook returned to Earth, their partnership stronger than ever. The lessons learned from their encounters with Maltruant lingered in Ben's mind, a reminder of the fragility of existence and the importance of protecting it. Maltruant's actions, though driven by a desire to escape entropy, had highlighted the resilience of life and the necessity of fighting for its preservation. Ben's reflections on these themes marked a turning point in his growth as a hero, solidifying his commitment to defending the multiverse from threats both great and small. This newfound perspective would prove invaluable as Ben and Rook continued their mission, taking on new challenges across the galaxy. One such challenge came in the form of the Contumelia, a mysterious and highly advanced alien race. Ben had encountered the Contumelia before, their enigmatic presence serving as a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the complexities of its inhabitants. In Omniverse, the Contumelia reappeared, acknowledging Ben's growth as a hero and testing his resolve in new ways. Their interactions with Ben were cryptic yet profound, pushing him to confront questions about his role in the grand scheme of existence. The Contumelia's acknowledgement of Ben's heroism served as a validation of his journey, reinforcing his belief in the importance of his mission. Meanwhile, the Incursians, led by the cunning Emperor Milius and his daughter Atia, continued to pose a significant threat to Earth and the galaxy at large. Dr. Psychobos, the deranged cerebro-crustacean scientist, played a pivotal role in their schemes, developing advanced technology to further their conquests. Ben and Rook found themselves embroiled in a climactic battle against the Incursians. Their efforts focused on thwarting Dr. Psychobos's most dangerous creation yet. The battle was a testament to Ben's adaptability and Rook's tactical prowess, their combined efforts overcoming the Incursion's technological superiority. The defeat of Dr. Psychobos marked a significant victory, but it also served as a reminder of the ever-present dangers lurking in the cosmos. As Omniverse drew to a close, Ben's journey reached a moment of reflection and resolution. The events of the series had tested him in ways he could never have anticipated, each challenge pushing him to grow as a hero and as a person. The stability of the multiverse, once threatened by Maltruant's universe-ending paradox, was now secure, a testament to Ben's unwavering determination and the strength of his partnerships. Rook, ever the loyal and capable partner, stood by Ben's side, their bond forged through countless battles and shared experiences. Together, they faced the future with confidence, ready to take on whatever threats awaited them. The series concluded with a sense of continuity, the adventures of Ben Tennyson far from over. His encounters with Maltruant, the Contumalia, and the Incursians had shaped him into a hero capable of facing the greatest challenges the universe could throw at him. The lessons learned during Omniverse would guide him in the years to come, his legacy as the wielder of the Omnitrix continuing to inspire those who fought alongside him. As Ben returned to Earth, the echoes of his journey lingered, a reminder of the resilience of life and the enduring power of heroism. The multiverse, once teetering on the brink of collapse, was now a testament to the strength of those who fought to protect it. With Ben Tennyson at the forefront of its defense, Ben's journey through Omniverse was marked by growth, both as a hero and as an individual. His battles against Maltruant, the Contumelia, and the Incursians had tested his resolve, pushing him to confront the complexities of existence and the responsibilities that came with wielding the Omnitrix. Each challenge had brought him closer to understanding the true nature of heroism, a journey that was far from over. As he looked to the future, Ben knew that new threats would arise, but he also knew that he was ready to face them. His experiences in Omniverse having prepared him for whatever lay ahead. The partnership between Ben and Rook remained a cornerstone of his journey, their bond forged through countless battles and shared victories. Rook's unwavering support and tactical expertise had proven invaluable, his presence a constant reminder of the importance of teamwork in the face of adversity. Together, they had faced some of the greatest threats the universe had ever known, their combined efforts ensuring the stability of the multiverse. As they continued their mission, their partnership served as a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of unity in the fight against evil. Ben's encounters with the Contumelia had left a lasting impression, their enigmatic presence serving as a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the mysteries it held. Their acknowledgement of Ben's heroism had validated his journey, reinforcing his belief in the importance of his mission. The Contumelia's cryptic interactions had pushed Ben to confront questions about his role in the grand scheme of existence, their presence a constant reminder of the complexities of life in the cosmos. As Ben looked to the future, the lessons learned from his encounters with the Contumelia would guide him. His understanding of the universe deepened by their enigmatic wisdom. The battle against the Incursions had been a defining moment in Ben's journey, their technological prowess posing a significant threat to Earth and the galaxy at large. Dr. Psychobos's schemes had pushed Ben and Rook to their limits, their efforts focused on thwarting his most dangerous creations. The climactic battle against the Incursions had been a testament to Ben's adaptability and Rook's tactical prowess, their combined efforts overcoming the Incursions' technological superiority. The defeat of Dr. Psychobos marked a significant victory, but it also served as a reminder of the ever-present dangers lurking in the cosmos. As Ben and Rook continued their mission, the lessons learned from their battles against the Incursions would guide them, their experiences shaping their approach to future threats. As Omniverse came to a close, Ben's journey reached a moment of reflection and resolution. The events of the series had tested him in ways he could never have anticipated, each challenge pushing him to grow as a hero and as a person. The stability of the multiverse, once threatened by Multruant's universe-ending paradox, was now secure, a testament to Ben's unwavering determination and the strength of his partnerships. Rook, ever the loyal and capable partner, stood by Ben's side, their bond forged through countless battles and shared experiences. Together, they faced the future with confidence, ready to take on whatever threats awaited them. The series concluded with a sense of continuity, the adventures of Ben Tennyson far from over. His encounters with Multruant, the Contumelia, and the Incursions had shaped him into a hero capable of facing the greatest challenges the universe could throw at him. The lessons learned during Omniverse would guide him in the years to come, his legacy as the wielder of the Omnitrix continuing to inspire those who fought alongside him. As Ben returned to Earth, the echoes of his journey lingered, a reminder of the resilience of life and the enduring power of heroism. The multiverse, once teetering on the brink of collapse, was now a testament to the strength of those who fought to protect it, with Ben Tennyson at the forefront of its defense. Ben's journey through Omniverse was marked by growth, both as a hero and as an individual. His battles against Multruant, the Contumelia, and the Incursions had tested his resolve, pushing him to confront the complexities of existence and the responsibilities that came with wielding the Omnitrix. Each challenge had brought him closer to understanding the true nature of heroism, a journey that was far from over. As he looked to the future, Ben knew that new threats would arise, but he also knew that he was ready to face them, his experiences in Omniverse having prepared him for whatever lay ahead. The partnership between Ben and Rook remained a cornerstone of his journey, their bond forged through countless battles and shared victories. Rook's unwavering support and tactical expertise had proven invaluable, his presence a constant reminder of the importance of teamwork in the face of adversity. Together, they had faced some of the greatest threats the universe had ever known, their combined effort ensuring the stability of the multiverse. As they continued their mission, their partnership served as a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of unity in the fight against evil. Ben's encounters with the Contumalia had left a lasting impression, their enigmatic presence serving as a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the mysteries it held. Their acknowledgement of Ben's heroism had validated his journey, reinforcing his belief in the importance of his mission. The Contumelia's cryptic interactions had pushed Ben to confront questions about his role in the grand scheme of existence, their presence a constant reminder of the complexities of life in the cosmos. As Ben looked to the future, the lessons learned from his encounters with the Contumelia would guide him. His understanding of the universe deepened by their enigmatic wisdom. The battle against the incursions had been a defining moment in Ben's journey, their technological prowess posing a significant threat to Earth and the galaxy at large. Dr. Psychobos's schemes had pushed Ben and Rook to their limits, their efforts focused on thwarting his most dangerous creations. The climactic battle against the incursions had been a testament to Ben's adaptability and Rook's tactical prowess, their combined efforts overcoming the incursions' technological superiority. The defeat of Dr. Psychobos marked a significant victory, but it also served as a reminder of the ever-present dangers lurking in the cosmos. As Ben and Rook continued their mission, the lessons learned from their battles against the incursions would guide them, their experiences shaping their approach to future threats. As Omniverse came to a close, Ben's journey reached a moment of reflection and resolution. The events of the series had tested him in ways he could never have anticipated, each challenge pushing him to grow as a hero and as a person. The stability of the multiverse, once threatened by Multurant's universe-ending paradox, was now secure, a testament to Ben's unwavering determination and the strength of his partnerships. Rook, ever the loyal and capable partner, stood by Ben's side, their bond forged through countless battles and shared experiences. Together, they faced the future with confidence, ready to take on whatever threats awaited them. The series concluded with a sense of continuity, the adventures of Ben Tennyson far from over. His encounters with Multurant, the Contumelia, and the incursions had shaped him into a hero capable of facing the greatest challenges the universe could throw at him. The lessons learned during Omniverse would guide him in the years to come, his legacy as the wielder of the Omnitrix continuing to inspire those who fought alongside him. As Ben returned to Earth, the echoes of his journey lingered, a reminder of the resilience of life and the enduring power of heroism. The multiverse, once teetering on the brink of collapse, was now a testament to the strength of those who fought to protect it, with Ben Tennyson at the forefront of its defense. The Ben 10 reboot era, set in an alternate timeline, reimagines the classic Ben 10 story with a fresh perspective, updated designs, and a new continuity. It begins with a younger Ben Tennyson, still full of boundless energy and mischief, embarking on a summer vacation with his cousin Gwen Tennyson and their grandfather Max Tennyson. This iteration of the trio is younger, reflecting a more light-hearted and playful tone, though the stakes remain as high as ever. The story kicks off in a forest near Bellwood, where Ben discovers the Omnitrix, a mysterious alien device that would change his life forever. Unlike the original timeline, the Omnitrix's design is sleeker, with a more futuristic aesthetic, hinting at the technological advancements of this new universe. Ben's first encounter with the Omnitrix is both thrilling and chaotic. As he activates the device for the first time, he transforms into Heat Blast, a fiery alien with the ability to manipulate flames. This transformation is a defining moment, marking the beginning of Ben's journey as a hero. However, his initial excitement quickly turns to panic as he accidentally sets the forest ablaze, showcasing the unpredictable nature of the Omnitrix. This incident serves as a wake-up call for Ben, who begins to realize the immense responsibility that comes with wielding such power. It also introduces the audience to the concept of alien transformations, a core element of the Ben 10 franchise. Grandpa Max, ever the guiding figure, steps in to explain the significance of the Omnitrix. He reveals his past as a plumber, a secret intergalactic organization dedicated to protecting Earth from extraterrestrial threats. This revelation adds depth to Max's character, positioning him as more than just a grandfather, but as a seasoned veteran of cosmic battles. Max's introduction to the plumbers also sets the stage for the broader universe of Ben 10, hinting at the myriad of alien species and dangers that Ben will face. His guidance becomes crucial as Ben and Gwen navigate this new world of alien technology and intergalactic conflict. The first major threat Ben encounters is Vilgax, a towering warlord from the planet Vilgaxia, who seeks the Omnitrix for universal domination. Vilgax's design in the reboot is more menacing, with a focus on his cybernetic enhancements and imposing stature. Their first confrontation is a pivotal moment, establishing Vilgax as Ben's archenemy and highlighting the Omnitrix's importance as a weapon of immense power. Despite his youth, Ben manages to outsmart Vilgax, using his newfound alien forms to thwart the warlord's plans. This victory solidifies Ben's role as a hero, though it also foreshadows the ongoing conflict between the two characters. As Ben continues to explore the Omnitrix's capabilities, he unlocks new alien forms, each with updated designs and abilities. Diamond Head, a crystalline alien with the power to create and manipulate diamond constructs, becomes one of Ben's go-to transformations. His durability and versatility make him a valuable asset in battles against formidable foes. Four Arms, a muscular alien with immense strength, also makes an appearance, showcasing the Omnitrix's ability to adapt to various combat scenarios. These transformations not only expand Ben's arsenal, but also introduce viewers to the diverse range of aliens available in the reboot's version of the Omnitrix. Gwen, meanwhile, begins to develop her interest in magic, setting her on a path that diverges from Ben's reliance on alien technology. Her curiosity leads her to study spells and ancient texts, laying the foundation for her eventual mastery of magic. This newfound skill creates a dynamic partnership between Ben and Gwen as they learn to complement each other's abilities. Gwen's progression from skeptic to adept magician adds depth to her character, making her more than just Ben's sidekick. Her journey also introduces elements of mysticism into the Ben 10 universe, broadening its scope beyond alien technology and intergalactic warfare. Kevin Levin enters the scene as a new antagonist, initially stealing the Omnitrix in an attempt to harness its power for himself. Kevin's introduction adds a layer of complexity to the story, as his motivations are driven by a desire to prove himself rather than outright villainy. His ability to absorb energy and materials makes him a formidable opponent, forcing Ben to think strategically in their encounters. Over time, Kevin evolves from a one-time foe to a recurring character, his relationship with Ben and Gwen shifting between rivalry and reluctant alliance. This dynamic adds intrigue to the narrative, as Kevin's actions often blur the line between friend and enemy. Dr. Animo, a recurring villain from the original series, makes his debut in the reboot with a new twist. A mad scientist obsessed with genetic experimentation, Animo creates mutated creatures that wreak havoc in Bellwood. His first battle with Ben is a test of the Omnitrix's versatility, as Ben must adapt to Animo's unpredictable creations. The encounter also highlights the ethical dilemmas surrounding genetic manipulation, a theme that resonates throughout the reboot. Animo's presence serves as a reminder of the diverse threats Ben faces, ranging from intergalactic warlords to Earth-based mad scientists. The Tennyson trio's encounter with Zombozo, a clown-themed villain, adds a touch of horror to the reboot's narrative. Zombozo terrorizes a carnival, using his eerie abilities to manipulate fear and control his victims. His flamboyant and unsettling personality makes him a memorable antagonist, contrasting with the more serious threats posed by Vilgax and Animo. Ben's battle with Zombozo showcases his growth as a hero, as he learns to confront his fears and protect others from harm. This episode also emphasizes the importance of teamwork, as Ben and Gwen work together to defeat Zombozo and restore order to the carnival. Ben's exploration of the Omnitrix continues with the unlocking of Wildvine, a plant-based alien with the ability to regenerate and manipulate vegetation. Wildvine's introduction expands the Omnitrix's roster, offering Ben new strategies for combat and problem-solving. His versatility makes him a valuable asset in battles against enemies with unique abilities, further demonstrating the Omnitrix's adaptability. Wildvine's design is also a nod to the reboot's updated aesthetic, with a focus on organic shapes and vibrant colours. The partnership between Ben and Gwen is further tested when they face Hex, a powerful sorcerer seeking magical artifacts for his own gain. Hex's mastery of dark magic poses a significant threat, forcing Ben and Gwen to combine their skills to defeat him. Their battle with Hex highlights the growing synergy between the cousins, as they learn to trust each other's abilities and work as a cohesive team. This episode also delves deeper into the mystical aspects of the Ben 10 universe, expanding its lore beyond the realm of alien technology. Vilgax returns with upgraded technology, posing an even greater challenge for Ben. His enhanced arsenal forces Ben to strategize and use his alien forms creatively, pushing the limits of the Omnitrix's capabilities. This confrontation underscores the ongoing conflict between Ben and Vilgax, as the Warlord's relentless pursuit of the Omnitrix drives much of the reboot's narrative. Ben's ability to adapt and overcome these challenges cements his status as a hero, while also setting the stage for future battles. The Ben 10 reboot era reimagines the classic story with a fresh perspective, introducing new designs, updated abilities, and a lighter tone. It retains the core elements of the original series while exploring new themes and character dynamics. Ben's journey from a mischievous kid to a responsible hero is at the heart of the reboot, as he learns to wield the Omnitrix's power for the greater good. Gwen's evolution into a skilled magician and Kevin's complex relationship with the Tennysons add depth to the narrative, making the reboot a compelling addition to the Ben 10 franchise. As the story continues, the stakes grow higher, promising even more thrilling adventures for Ben and his allies. Ben's journey in the reboot timeline continued with his encounter with Phil, a plumber intern who provided a deeper understanding of the plumbers' organization and its history. Phil, though initially underestimated due to his intern status, revealed crucial insights into the plumbers' mission to protect Earth from extraterrestrial threats. He explained how the plumbers had evolved from a secretive Earth-based organization to an intergalactic force, working to maintain peace across the universe. This interaction not only deepened Ben's appreciation for the plumbers, but also highlighted the importance of teamwork and mentorship in their ongoing battles. Phil's knowledge proved invaluable as Ben faced increasingly complex challenges, reminding him that even the smallest roles could have a significant impact. Around this time, Ben unlocked the alien form upgrade, a sleek biomechanical entity capable of merging with and enhancing technology. Upgrade's abilities were first showcased when Ben encountered malfunctioning machinery controlled by a rogue AI. By merging with the technology, Upgrade not only neutralized the threat, but also demonstrated the Omnitrix's potential to adapt to technological challenges. This transformation became a cornerstone of Ben's strategy, especially in battles where enemies relied on advanced tech. Upgrade's versatility underscored the Omnitrix's role as more than just a weapon. It was a tool for innovation and problem-solving, further cementing Ben's reputation as a hero who could think on his feet. The Forever Knights, a secretive organization obsessed with alien technology, and the Omnitrix emerged as one of Ben's most persistent adversaries in the reboot timeline. Their leader, Sir Morton, sought to harness the Omnitrix's power to fulfill his vision of human supremacy. The Knights' medieval aesthetic and fanatical devotion to their cause made them a unique threat, blending ancient traditions with cutting-edge alien tech. Ben's encounters with the Forever Knights often involved intricate battles of wits and strength, as they employed everything from traps to advanced weaponry in their quest to capture the Omnitrix. These confrontations tested Ben's resolve and forced him to rely on his diverse alien forms to outmaneuver their schemes. Kevin Levin's story took a darker turn as his unstable powers began to mutate, transforming him into a monstrous, energy-absorbing entity. This mutation was a direct consequence of Kevin's reckless experimentation with his abilities, and it marked a turning point in his relationship with Ben. What began as a rivalry escalated into a climactic battle, with Kevin's mutated form posing a significant threat to both Ben and Gwen. The fight was a harrowing reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of self-control. Ben, using a combination of strategy and the Omnitrix's diverse alien forms, managed to subdue Kevin, but the experience left a lasting impact on both of them. It was a poignant moment that highlighted the complexities of their friendship and the challenges of wielding immense power responsibly. Ben's exploration of the Omnitrix's capabilities continued with the unlocking of Stinkfly, a winged insectoid alien adept at navigating various environments. Stinkfly's ability to fly and deploy sticky, adhesive projectiles made it an invaluable asset in battles that required mobility and precision. One notable instance occurred during a confrontation with a group of alien poachers who had invaded a dense forest. Stinkfly's agility allowed Ben to traverse the terrain effortlessly, while its projectiles incapacitated the poachers without causing unnecessary harm. This transformation showcased the Omnitrix's versatility, proving that each alien form had unique strengths, tailored to specific situations. Stinkfly's introduction further expanded Ben's tactical repertoire, enabling him to adapt to increasingly diverse threats. The Incursions, an alien race led by the ambitious Atea, declared war on Earth, marking one of the most significant conflicts in the reboot timeline. Atea, driven by her desire to expand her empire, viewed Earth as a strategic target and sought to conquer it with her formidable army. Ben's encounters with the Incursions were marked by large-scale battles that tested his ability to think strategically and protect innocent lives. The conflict also introduced Ben to the complexities of intergalactic politics, as he navigated alliances and rivalries while defending his home planet. Atea's relentless pursuit of conquest served as a stark reminder of the Omnitrix's role as a symbol of resistance against tyranny, and Ben's victories against the Incursion solidified his status as Earth's protector. Cannonbolt, a spherical alien with incredible rolling abilities, became one of Ben's most reliable forms during this period. Its first major use came during a battle with a powerful alien gladiator who'd been unleashed by the Forever Knights. Cannonbolt's rolling momentum allowed Ben to deliver devastating attacks while maintaining a defensive posture, making it ideal for high-stakes confrontations. The transformation's versatility was further demonstrated when Ben used it to navigate treacherous terrain and escape collapsing structures. Cannonbolt's introduction highlighted the Omnitrix's ability to provide solutions in even the most dire situations, reinforcing Ben's confidence in his role as a hero. Ben and Gwen's discovery of the Null Void, a prison dimension for dangerous aliens, opened up new possibilities and challenges in their adventures. The Null Void served as a containment facility for some of the universe's most formidable threats, and its existence underscored the Plumber's commitment to maintaining galactic order. However, the dimension's instability and the constant threat of escapees posed ongoing challenges for Ben and Gwen. Their encounters within the Null Void often involved high-stakes battles and moral dilemmas as they grappled with the ethics of imprisonment and the responsibility of wielding such power. This discovery deepened their understanding of the broader universe and the complexities of their roles as protectors. Vilgax, Ben's most formidable adversary, returned in the reboot timeline for a final showdown that tested the limits of Ben's abilities. Vilgax's relentless pursuit of the Omnitrix and his insatiable hunger for power made him a constant threat, and this confrontation was no exception. The battle was a culmination of everything Ben had learned, as he utilized his diverse alien forms to counter Vilgax's overwhelming strength and cunning. The fight was a testament to Ben's growth as a hero, showcasing his ability to adapt and persevere in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. His victory over Vilgax not only protected Earth, but also solidified his legacy as one of the universe's greatest defenders. XLR-8, a high-speed alien capable of moving at incredible velocities, became a crucial addition to Ben's arsenal during this era. Its abilities were particularly useful in situations requiring rapid response, such as rescuing civilians from collapsing structures or intercepting fleeing enemies. One notable instance occurred during a chase with a rogue alien thief who had stolen a powerful artifact. XLR-8's speed allowed Ben to catch the thief before they could escape, preventing a potential catastrophe. This transformation emphasized the Omnitrix's adaptability, proving that it could provide solutions for even the most time-sensitive challenges. XLR-8's introduction further expanded Ben's tactical options, enabling him to handle a wider range of threats with precision and efficiency. Charmcaster, a rival sorceress to Gwen, emerged as a significant antagonist in the reboot timeline. Her mastery of magic and her desire to harness the Omnitrix's power made her a formidable foe, and her confrontations with Ben and Gwen often involved intricate battles of strategy and skill. Charmcaster's motivations were rooted in her quest for power and recognition, and her actions frequently forced Ben and Gwen to confront their own beliefs about responsibility and the use of power. These encounters were marked by a blend of action and introspection as Ben and Gwen navigated the complexities of their roles as heroes and the challenges of facing an adversary who mirrored their own potential for greatness. Grey Matter, a diminutive alien with unparalleled intelligence, became one of Ben's most valuable forms during this era. Grey Matter's ability to solve complex problems and outsmart enemies was instrumental in situations that required more than brute strength. One notable instance occurred when Ben faced a labyrinthine puzzle designed by the Forever Knights to protect a powerful artifact. grey matter's intellect allowed Ben to navigate the puzzle and retrieve the artifact, preventing it from falling into the wrong hands. This transformation highlighted the Omnitrix's versatility, proving that it could provide solutions for challenges that required both brains and brawn. Grey matter's introduction further emphasized Ben's growth as a hero, showcasing his ability to adapt and overcome even the most daunting obstacles. Throughout the reboot timeline, Ben's journey was marked by continuous growth and discovery. Each new alien form and adversary added depth to his understanding of the Omnitrix and his role as a hero. The challenges he faced tested not only his abilities but also his character, forcing him to confront the complexities of power, responsibility, and friendship. By the end of this era, Ben had solidified his place as one of the universe's greatest defenders, a testament to his resilience, ingenuity, and unwavering commitment to protecting those in need. The reboot timeline, while distinct from previous iterations of the Ben 10 saga, retained the core themes and spirit that made the franchise a beloved classic, offering a fresh perspective on Ben's adventures while honouring its rich legacy. From its humble beginnings with a 10-year-old discovering the Omnitrix in a crashed spaceship to his final adventures as a seasoned hero across multiple universes, the Ben 10 franchise has always centered on Ben Tennyson's growth, not just as a wielder of alien powers, but as a protector of Earth and beyond. Whether facing the hybrid invasion, mastering the Ultimatrix, or teaming up with alternate versions of himself in the reboot's multiversal clashes, each era reinforced the core theme. Heroism is a choice, not just a gift. Across 4 series, 16 years of storytelling, and countless transformations, Ben's journey stands as one of animation's most expansive hero sagas. And that is the complete Ben 10 timeline.